Chapter 2009. I didn't want to bother with you. But since you want to die, you can't blame anyone. Utianemo looked at Night Sorrow and a halberd appeared in his hand. It was very similar to the reincarnation halberd that Night Sorrow's main body held. The Desolate Halberd was the Demon Wing clan's most precious divine weapon. Utianemo had seen it in the hands of the demon ancestor before, so he made one according to its size and style. It was called the Great Desolate Halberd. Holding the Great Desolate Halberd, Utianemo swung it at Night Sorrow. With a muffled sound, Night Sorrow was sent flying. The violent energy impact made Night Sorrow spit out a mouthful of blood. Night Sorrow was at a disadvantage in this exchange. Utianemo had used the strength of one of the 9 Emperors' tribulation of the heavenly Tao. Coupled with his powerful soul power, Night Sorrow was unable to withstand it. Night Sorrow had not vomited blood for a long time. The main reason was that the gap between him and Utianemo was too big. In terms of realm and energy, Utianemo was able to crush him. The team led by Lin Yun and Zhuodong was also not good. They were suppressed by the snake-headed leader. How long could they last was a problem. Captain, this guy is too strong. Longjin also shouted. Night Sorrow knew that there was a serious error in his estimation. The team led by him had no chance of defeating the Demon Wing clan. This was the consequence of underestimating Utianemo. When everyone appeared, they were in Utianmo's domain. In other words, Utianmo's domain had concealed the aura of the experts in this team. Even if there were dragon-headed and snake-headed people in the Demon Wing clan, King Yawu could not sense them. Night Sorrow's reincarnation domain burst forth and forcefully counteracted the suppression of Utianmo's domain. Then his soul power burst out and wrapped the first team's soldiers and members of the god-slaying team, pulling them into the 8-dragon cauldron. Retreat. Feeling that it was impossible, Night Sorrow decided not to fight. If he continued to fight, he would die. Want to run? If you don't know when to stop, then don't even think about leaving. Utianemo roared. His left hand punched towards Night Sorrow while the Great Desolate War halberd in his right hand smashed towards Little Purple. He knew that Night Sorrow wanted to take the troops into the spatial treasure on Little Purple's back. The reason why Mo Yutian used his weapon to attack Little Purple was because he thought highly of Little Purple. Little Purple was a 2-emperor calamity while Night Sorrow was at the emperor realm. There was a huge gap between the two. Even though he had paid attention to Little Purple, Mo Yutian's halberd still missed because Little Purple's speed was too fast. After dodging Imperial Mo's attack, Little Purple's body trembled as she continued to charge forward, breaking through Imperial Mo's domain seal on the space. Together with Night Sorrow's soul power, she pulled the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-slaying squad into the 8-dragon cauldron. Look at the YM. Verse MQ above equals Q Little Purple, retreat. Night Sorrow shouted at the Purple Void Snake King. Little Purple carried out Night Sorrow's orders without hesitation. She flashed into the turbulence of the void. They ran away. It doesn't matter if they ran away. They are just a bunch of trash. Today, I will kill you and that will be enough. Utianemo was no longer distracted as he focused all his attention on Night Sorrow. His domain began to suppress the surrounding space. In other words, it wouldn't be easy for Night Sorrow and Little Purple to come into contact with each other. Night Sorrow knew that the gap between him and Utianemo was huge. He immediately used the Void Step to dodge. He wanted to find a chance to escape. If he didn't, this clone of his might die. Hiding the head but showing the tail. You're not a big shot. Night Sorrow constantly flashed as he dodged Utianmo's attacks. Shut up. I, Yutian of the Devil Wing clan, am not someone a piece of trash like you can slander. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Emolu was very angry. Night Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. He knew that he had bumped into a big shot. He knew the names of the 3 great heavens of the Devil Wing clan. Utianemo, Emo Zhantian, and Emo Tianji had the same status in the Devil Wing clan as the Tianhuang City Lord, King Yawu, and the Grand Elder had the same status in the Celestial Realm. Run. He had to run. Night Sorrow knew that if the stalemate continued, this clone of his would die. Furthermore, there would be repercussions if his clone died in the hands of a big shot of the Devil Wing clan. The 9-domain origin bead was with his main body. If his clone died, His soul power would be destroyed or even collected to injure his main body with a secret technique. At this time, the Devil Wing clan had formed a circle and bombarded Night Sorrow with all kinds of attacks. Crisis. Night Sorrow had encountered an unprecedented crisis. At this time he was already injured. It was because he didn't know the situation that he took Yutianmo's first attack. Night Sorrow used the Void Step and the Space-Time Realm to dodge and defend against Yutianmo's attack. As for the attacks of Mo Lu and the others, Night Sorrow didn't have the energy to pay attention to them. The main reason was that those attacks weren't fatal. Yutianmo's attack was the most terrifying. Night Sorrow also crushed King Yewu's Soul Crystal Ball. However, he felt that there wasn't much hope. No matter how fast King Yewu was, he would still need some time. During this time, Yutianmo could kill him a few times. In the turbulent void, Sikong Chuyu and the other soul power passed through the 8-Dragon Cauldron and the spatial barrier to observe the battle. Everyone was extremely nervous. They all knew what the situation was. The Devil Wing clan was a huge pit. They didn't fight with them at the beginning because of other reasons. Little Violet, fly at a safe distance. See if there's a chance to bring Night Sorrow back. Sikong Chuyu communicated with Little Violet. Sikong Chuyu was very worried about Night Sorrow. However, she couldn't ignore the safety of more than 300 people. Therefore, when she told Little Violet that she would bring Night Sorrow back, it was also under the premise that the team was safe. Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi didn't contact Lin Piamiao either. They saw Night Sorrow crush King Yewu's Soul Crystal Ball. Moreover, it was too late to inform King Yewu now. Mo Yutian's attacks were extremely violent and powerful. Night Sorrow used the space-time realm to defend himself. Because Mo Yutian also had achievements in the space-time attribute, he could hurt Night Sorrow through the spatial barrier. Even after Night Sorrow's space-time realm weakened the time and space, Night Sorrow's injuries continued to worsen. Night Sorrow was shocked by the strength of Mo Yutian's attacks. Mo Yutian was also shocked by Night Sorrow's combat strength. Even low-level Emperor Tribulation cultivators weren't as difficult to kill as Night Sorrow. Human emperors of the human race are indeed strong and have excellent potential. However, you are unlucky to have met me. Mo Yutian increased the suppression of his domain. At the same time, his halberd attacks became even more violent. Blessing of the power of merit. After being recognized by Mo Yutian, Night Sorrow didn't hesitate and used the power of merit to strengthen his domain. He didn't use the power of merit at first because he was afraid that Mo Yutian would find out his identity and kill him at all costs. Since Mo Yutian had made it clear, Night Sorrow had no more scruples. Chapter 2010. Dodge and defend. That was all Night Sorrow could do. Although offense was the best defense, Night Sorrow could not fight Yutian Mo head-on. If he did, he would be giving Yutian an opportunity to hurt him. Night Sorrow charged toward the members of the Devil-Winged clan. He wanted them to become obstacles for Yutian Mo to attack him. Get out of the way. Yutian Mo knew that King Yewu was coming, so he wanted to kill Night Sorrow with all his might. He knew how important Night Sorrow was to the human race and the 100 races of the celestial realm. Yutian Mo was faster than Yi Shang, Xiang Long and Sui Yuan were also faster than Yi Shang, but the other members of the demon-winged race were not as fast. They were left behind by Yi Shang, and became obstacles for Yutian Mo to attack him. Knowing that time was running out, Yutian Mo waved his great desolate war halberd. Sharp astral chi shot toward Night Sorrow. Some dragon-headed and snake-headed people could not dodge in time, and were killed. Forever's free-to-read novel. Night Sorrow was also hit. A halberd light from the great desolate war halberd pierced through his body. Fortunately, Night Sorrow's virtuous immortal body was strong and only a part of his body was injured. His body was not destroyed by the energy. While using the Void Steps and Space-Time Realm, Night Sorrow used the Desolate Nirvana Palm to control the members of the Devil-Winged clan. Then the energy hand grabbed them and threw them behind him. Damn it! Great Desolate Extreme Dao Kill. Yutian Mo roared and waved the Great Desolate War Halberd. Using his ultimate move, several black energy dragons flew toward Night Sorrow. Everything in the path of the energy dragons collapsed. The Devil-Winged clan members, dragon-headed people, and snake-headed people were all killed. Knowing that he couldn't dodge, Night Sorrow turned around, his entire body bursting with energy. The Blood Kirin evil vanquishing spear trembled as it performed the Void Extreme Kill and Void Return to Origin Kill. He wanted to turn the space in front of him into his own energy attack zone, blocking Imperial Mo's energy bombardment. With a loud explosion, Night Sorrow's sleeves were torn to shreds. His hands and forearms were covered in blood, and only his golden bones and tendons were left. His body was sent flying by the impact of the energy, and he spat out blood again. Even though Mo Yutian had used his Heavenly Dao 9 Emperor's Tribulation cultivation, he had still managed to severely injure Night Sorrow. Looking at Night Sorrow, who was sent flying away but still in a highly focused state, Demon Royal waved his sleeves and brought the remaining members of his team into his space magic tool. Then, with a wave of the Great Desolate War Halberd, he cut open the space barrier and vanished. Seeing Night Sorrow's state, Mo Yutian knew that Night Sorrow could still fight. He knew that it was unrealistic to kill Night Sorrow in a few moves. If he delayed any longer, King Yawu would arrive. At that time, it would be a real bloody battle, and he didn't want to engage in such a battle right now. As for using his full cultivation, it wouldn't be difficult to kill Night Sorrow. Once he used his full cultivation, the effect of the Wheel of Life and Death would no longer exist. When the opportunity appeared, he would no longer have a foothold on the Reincarnation Island. This operation would be a complete failure. Mo Yutian wouldn't choose to do that. After Mo Yutian left, Night Sorrow's body floated down from the sky. His fleshless right hand supported his body with the Blood Kirin evil vanquishing spear, but blood kept flowing out of his mouth. Little Z returned to Night Sorrow's side. Looking at Little Z, Night Sorrow smiled. Then his body went limp and half-knelt on the ground. He didn't know why Mo Yutian suddenly left. He really couldn't hold on any longer. He wouldn't be able to block that kind of attack twice. Just as Night Sorrow was about to enter the 8-dragon cauldron and let Little Z take everyone away, a spatial storm appeared. A human figure condensed and waved his hand, wrapping Night Sorrow with energy and stabilizing the chaotic energy in Night Sorrow's body. Martial Uncle. Seeing who it was, Night Sorrow felt relieved. Then he didn't know what happened next. After helping Night Sorrow sit down, King Yawu looked at the void. He had already rushed over as fast as he could, but he was still a bit slow. However, he felt that the situation was good. At least, he didn't let Night Sorrow die. King Yawu didn't chase after him. He didn't have Mo Yutian's sensing ability and couldn't determine the direction. The 8-dragon cauldron had an implement spirit. The implement spirit knew Sikong Chiyu, Yanglei, and Aoi. At their request, even without Night Sorrow's control, the implement spirit let everyone out. Is Night Sorrow okay? Sikong Chiyu supported the unconscious Night Sorrow and looked at King Yawu worriedly. It's not a big problem. He's tough. He didn't die even after encountering a top master of the Demon Wing clan. Very good. King Yawu's face was filled with relief and anger. He was relieved that Night Sorrow was only seriously injured. He was angry that Mo Yutian had controlled his aura to come to the Reincarnation Island, and almost killed a human sovereign. King Yawu asked everyone to set up camp. Then he helped Night Sorrow to keep Mo Yutian in his body and force out the destructive energy that was constantly producing. Then Night Sorrow woke up. His arms had recovered a little. He cultivated the myriad Tao Tome, so the strength of his body was comparable to his cultivation. His regenerative ability was extremely strong, so it wasn't difficult for him to regenerate his flesh. No wonder that guy didn't continue to kill me. He knew that Uncle Master was coming. Your deterrence saved my life. Night Sorrow glanced at his sleeveless battle robe. Then he stood up and saluted King Yawu. The key is whether you can withstand it. If you can't, you will be killed before Uncle Master arrives. No one can do anything about it. King Yawu smiled at Night Sorrow. He was very relieved because Night Sorrow satisfied him and made him happy. He even said that he saw the future. Even if he suppressed his cultivation, he almost killed me. He just didn't have the time, Night Sorrow said. That was Mo Yutian, one of the 3 grand heavens of the Demon Wing clan. Like Uncle Master, the city lord of Tianhuang City, and the Grand Elder, he has lived for 8 eras. Isn't his strength frightening? This is your tribulation. Since you didn't die, it means you survived. Don't worry about your injuries and let the void purple light snake continue to search for their whereabouts. Next time I'll act, said King Yawu to Yishang. In the past, when King Yawu found traces of the Demon Wing clan, he didn't take action. That was because of his dignity as a strong cultivator, and also to train his descendants. Now that he had confirmed the strength of the other party, it was time for him to take action. Night Sorrow told Little Z to continue searching for the Demon Wing clan. Then, Yang Lei helped him into Tianyu's tent to heal his injuries. Brother Shursan, are you okay? Yi Mei asked worriedly. It's nothing. It's just that my body was damaged by the impact of the energy. The energy was forced out of my body by Uncle Master. I'll be fine after some recovery. But the feeling of being powerless is not good. I can only passively dodge and can't even fight back, Night Sorrow said with a sigh. This battle allowed Night Sorrow to see what a top expert was like. Even if he suppressed his cultivation, his actual combat strength was still shocking. That bastard is too shameless. He's a big shot of the Demon Wing clan. How dare he attack us? But our situation is not optimistic, Tianyu cursed. The overall situation doesn't matter. Mo Tianji is trapped in the Nether Realm. Her cultivation is below the Emperor Realm. It's hard for me to find her. But as long as she dares to enter the Emperor Realm, I can find her. So, she won't be able to do anything. With Uncle Master restraining Mo Yutian, he won't be able to do anything in the Reincarnation Island. Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. Chapter 2011. Yes. I don't have the energy or time to look for her now. However, as long as she dares to break through to the Tharch realm, the world's origin will lock onto her, Night Sorrow said. She won't be able to do much below the Tharch realm. We can catch her if she's above the Tharch realm. In this situation she won't be a threat, Always said. Yishang nodded. He was indeed not worried that Mo Tianji would be able to cause any trouble in the Nine Regions world. She had possessed Zhu Juyun, who was a heaven monarch. After fusing with Zhu Juyun's body, she would have to transcend the tribulation if she wanted to do anything. Sikong Chuyu and the others chatted with Night Sorrow for a while before leaving Night Sorrow's tent. Night Sorrow needed to heal himself. King Yawu stood outside the campsite, looking terrible. He was furious. He had been tricked by Mo Yutian this time. Night Sorrow was fine. If something had happened to Night Sorrow, he wouldn't have been able to make up for it no matter what he did or how he took revenge. After everyone left the tent, Night Sorrow entered the 8-dragon cauldron to heal himself. He was seriously injured this time. Fortunately, King Yawu helped him to expel all the energy that Mo Yutian had left in his body. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for Night Sorrow to recover. Mo Yutian's energy was extremely domineering. It wasn't something that Night Sorrow's energy could suppress. Half a month later, Night Sorrow came out of seclusion and looked better. Seeing Night Sorrow come out, King Yawu went to him and smiled. This is one of your qualifications. This qualification has been recognized by the Council of Elders. It's rare that you could survive against Mo Yutian, one of the 3 giants of the Demon Wing clan. I didn't have the strength to fight back. It was very depressing, Night Sorrow said. Haha. Mo Yutian is an expert who has lived for 8 eras. What's his cultivation? 8 Emperor Tribulation. How many rounds do you plan to fight with him? King Yawu laughed after hearing Night Sorrow's words. He's also a human, not a god. I can't defeat him now, but I will in the future. Night Sorrow was filled with fighting spirit. King Yawu looked at Night Sorrow with a serious expression. He had always been worried that Mo Yutian's tyrannical strength would cast a shadow on Night Sorrow. But now he realized that he was wrong. Night Sorrow was not affected at all. Instead, he was getting more and more courageous, and his battle intent was soaring. Uncle Master, I will try my best, but it will take some time, Night Sorrow said. I believe in you. As long as you are willing, there is nothing you can't do. This time, it seems to be a good thing. You can feel the strength and aura of a real expert in advance. King Yawu patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. Night Sorrow walked around the campsite and found that the sergeants of the First Army and the members of the Deicide Squad were either meditating or practicing their combat skills. After walking around, Night Sorrow waved at the nothingness purple light snake king that was wandering around the campsite. The nothingness purple light snake king circled around and landed on Night Sorrow's arm. Little Purple, thank you. At that time, I was afraid that my brothers and sisters would be in danger. Night Sorrow reached out and patted the nothingness purple light snake king's body. The nothingness purple light snake king's body trembled. And then some soul waves were transmitted into Night Sorrow's spiritual sea. Little Purple felt that it was what it should do. It was also a part of the celestial realm, so it should do what it should do. Night Sorrow reached out and patted the nothingness purple light snake king's head. Little Purple, you are good. If the celestial realm wins the war on the Samsara island, you will make a great contribution. Kel after listening to Night Sorrow's words, the nothingness purple light snake king excitedly circled around Night Sorrow's arm. Night Sorrow and Little Purple communicated again. The group of nothingness purple light snakes began a comprehensive investigation on the Samsara island. They began to set up defenses in the areas where formations could be set up, but to no avail. This result was within Night Sorrow's expectations. At this time, the celestial realm and heaven wasteland were in a showdown on the Samsara island. They were even aware of each other's strength. Naturally, Mo Yutian could not act at will. If he and the team stayed in the space magic treasure, the group of nothingness purple light snakes would not be able to find them. Night Sorrow and the others did not act again. If the group of nothingness purple light snakes could not find the whereabouts of the demon-winged clan, then it was even more hopeless for the team to find them. It was better to rest and cultivate. 2 months later, the Grand Elder brought the Spirit Tree Elder and Shirshuchuan of the Spirit Tree clan to the Samsara Island. They arranged for Shirshuchuan to stay in some of the required security areas on the Samsara Island. Then they also came to the campsite. The Grand Elder knew that Night Sorrow and Mo Yutian had met. He also felt somewhat lucky because Night Sorrow's accident would have a great impact on the celestial realm. The human emperor was the symbol of the celestial realm. If he died, the consequences would be very serious. The Grand Elder and King Yawu stood outside the campsite and looked at the storm in the sky. Lord of Yawu City, we are really lucky this time. However, Night Sorrow was also greatly affected. Mo Yutian and the others hid too well, the Grand Elder said. I was also worried at first. I was worried that Night Sorrow would be affected and his momentum would be affected. However, in reality, Night Sorrow's mentality is very good. It has increased his motivation, King Yawu said. He could understand the Grand Elder's worries because he had the same worries before. Wu Shuang has taken in a good disciple. How enviable. Night Sorrow was exiled when he came to the heavenly desolate city for the first time. That Xiao Jun was also very fast. I did not see him during the night. Otherwise it would not have been Wu Shuang's turn, the Grand Elder said. The Grand Elder cultivated the Spear Dao, and did not have a suitable disciple until now. If Yen Wushuang had found Night Sorrow before he met Night Sorrow, he would have definitely taken in Night Sorrow as his disciple. This is fate. However, he can't inherit Wushuang's mantle yet. He can't accept anyone's inheritance because he has his own Dao. And it is the great Dao, King Yawu said. Then what about Wushuang's sword Dao? That is one of the top inheritances of humans. It cannot be broken. After hearing King Yawu's words, the Grand Elder thought of another problem. It will not be broken. When Night Sorrow's Dao is formed, he will not be influenced by other Daos. When he can use other Daos to perfect himself, Wushuang's sword Dao can be inherited. Fun Tian is more suitable, but he will have to wait. King Yawu shook his head. He was not worried that Yen Wushuang's inheritance would be broken. Fun Tian was very suitable, but he would have to wait until Night Sorrow could study Sword Dao. After Mo Yutian left with the demon-winged clan, he hid with the help of a spatial treasure. He also knew that the reason why Night Sorrow and the others had discovered him several times was because the void purple light snakes were the spies of the celestial realm. Great Elder Yutian, what should we do now? Mo Lu felt that the prospects of this operation were not very good, because they had been in a passive state. It's not easy to deal with. We will continue to look for opportunities. If it doesn't work, then we can only give up on this strategic deployment. The celestial realm has already made arrangements for what we can think of, Mo Yutian said. Chapter 2012. Tell me the details. Utianemo looked at Xianglong and asked. There is a large cavern in the inner part of the Demon Mountain. The energy storm inside is not too strong, and the area is large enough to set up a formation. Setting up a defensive formation inside the cavern should not be a problem to defend against the Void Storm and Void Storm, Xianglong said. That's a good choice. Let's go and take a look. After some thought, Utianemo felt that Xianglong's suggestion was more feasible. Then I will lead the way. Xianglong said. No, the void purple light snakes are their eyes. Everyone enter the spatial treasure. Xianglong, you will lead the way. Xianglong Zhiyuan, if this is successful, I will recommend you to enter the Demon Lord Palace. I will even allow your 2 tribes to marry into the Demon Wing tribe. Utianemo looked at Xianglong and Zhiyuan. The Demon Wing tribe valued bloodlines very much. They constantly developed descendants of other tribes, but the direct bloodline was always pure. Those with direct bloodlines would only marry members of the same bloodline. Hearing Utianmo's words, Xianglong and Zhiyuan bowed in gratitude. Once they entered the Demon Lord Palace, they would become elders of the Demon Wing tribe. Their status and position would be very high, and they would be respected by the Demon Wing tribe. As for marriage, even if it was a side branch, it would allow the dragon-headed and snake-headed people to survive and establish a foothold in the Demon Wing tribe. Under Xianglong's guidance, Utianemo hurried along with the spatial treasure. His soul power was strong, and he could detect the void purple light snakes in advance. Hence, he was not afraid of being discovered. Utianmo's speed was extremely fast, and he managed to avoid all of the void purple light snakes from afar. However, he did not notice that while he was flying, there were 2 beads below him that were different from other plants. They were 2 trees with stone-like skin. On this day, Knight Sorrow, who was practicing his spear skills, was called into the tent by King Yewu. In the tent, the Grand Elder and Elder Spiritual Tree were seated. Greetings, Grand Elder. Greetings, Elder Spiritual Tree. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands in greeting. Haha, you are still so polite. You are the human emperor of the celestial realm. You don't need to greet anyone. Elder Lingshu returned the greeting to Knight Sorrow. Human emperor doesn't need it, but Knight Sorrow does. Knight Sorrow respects seniors who work hard for the celestial realm, Knight Sorrow said. Let's all sit down and talk. Knight Sorrow, the situation is like this. The Spirit Tree clan's Shirshu found Mo Yutian flying past this area. King Yewu pointed at a map on the table. The map was based on the map drawn by Lingling, with some additions. It was a map of the entire Reincarnation Island. At this time, King Yewu pointed to an area. Knight Sorrow took a look, and then looked at Elder Spirit Tree. Did Shirshu report the direction of Mo Yutian's flight, and which direction he flew in when he passed by? Yes, he flew from the northwest to the southeast, Elder Spirit Tree said. Southeast. Southeast. Let me think. Normally, when he left here last time, he shouldn't have appeared in this explored area. When he passed by this area, he flew in the southeast direction. There are Broken Sky Mountain and Demon Mountain in the southeast. There are many void whirlpools near Broken Sky Mountain, which is not suitable for a formation. In addition, there are many void purple light snakes. His destination may be Demon Mountain. Knight Sorrow thought for a while, and came to his own opinion and conclusion. Yes, just now the 3 of us analyzed and felt that this possibility was relatively high. After all, there are dragon-headed and snake-headed people in his team who know Demon Mountain well. King Yewu said, the dragon-headed and snake-headed people are very strong. Even if our sergeants of the First Army set up a formation, they can't compete with them. They are Emperor Tribulation Masters. They should have lived in Demon Mountain for a long time. Mo Yutian chose Demon Mountain because he is in the process of cleaning it up. However, Demon Mountain is very large. It is difficult to find them without knowing their specific location. Knight Sorrow said the possibility and difficulties. It is indeed a problem. Then we will camp in Demon Mountain and station in the core area, King Yewu said. We can set up a stronghold in Demon Mountain and set up a transmission formation. Some cultivators can come to this area to train and find traces of the Demon Wing clan. In order to avoid being killed after being found, the news can't be transmitted. Only cultivators with doppelgangers are allowed to go. No matter what happens, even if they die, the news can be transmitted back. Night Sorrow said his suggestion. King Yawu, Grand Elder, and Elder Spirit Tree agreed with Night Sorrow's suggestion. Then the team gathered and set off for Demon Mountain. Under the control of the Void Purple Light Snake King, the group of Void Purple Light Snakes did not cause trouble. The team moved forward at full speed. It did not take long for them to reach Demon Mountain. King Yawu looked around and found a suitable area. It was a large platform in the middle of the main peak of Demon Mountain. The mountain platform was very large. It had a radius of hundreds of miles. Night Sorrow, it should not be a problem to set up a defensive and space-stabilizing formation within a radius of 600 miles. What do you think of the core area of the formation as a stronghold? King Yawu asked Night Sorrow. Very good. The distance from here to Tianhuang City is not far. A monarch-level transmission formation will do. The main thing is to set up a defensive formation and space-stabilizing formation, Night Sorrow said. Uncle, are you going to set up the formation or do you? King Yawu looked around the platform again and asked. Okay. I will do it. Uncle, you don't have to trouble yourself. However, you have to pay attention to the formation and remind me if there are any mistakes, Night Sorrow said and accepted the task. Hearing that Night Sorrow accepted the task, the Grand Elder threw a storage ring to Night Sorrow. Grand Elder, you don't have to. Night Sorrow brought the Holy Spirit Stone. Night Sorrow said, I know you have a lot of money, but this is a matter of the 100 races of the Celestial Realm. I can't let you pay the Holy Spirit Stone. The 100 races of the Celestial Realm have a lot of money, the Grand Elder said with a smile. Take it. Although you have the ability, you are still a junior in the 100 races. Everyone will only support you. How can we drag you down? King Yawu nodded at Night Sorrow. Then, Night Sorrow's team began to tidy up the platform. Night Sorrow asked them to set up the formation. Night Sorrow also began to set up the formation. What Yishang didn't know was that Mo Yutian was also in charge of repairing the terrain and fixing the foundation of the formation. He was beginning to set up the grand formation. King Yawu, Mo Yutian, and the Grand Elder's soul power were very strong. However, it was not strong enough to see through the mountain. Neither side knew what the other was doing. They were all studying the formation. Chapter 2013. After listening to King Yawu and the Grand Elder's guidance, Night Sorrow's array Dao cultivation had also improved. How could a defensive array have such a strong defensive power? Naturally, there were offensive formations that contained domineering power. In addition, it also had the effect of controlling and stabilizing space-time. It could be said that it was a comprehensive test of one's cultivation in the art of formations. Night Sorrow improved his understanding of the Tao of array formations in the process of setting up the formation. Setting up a stronghold on Samsara Island and setting up an all-around formation would consume a lot of resources and manpower. Yishang used 4 months to finish setting up the defensive grand array. Uncle Master, I think it's ready. Can you start it? After setting up the last array base, Night Sorrow came to King Yawu's side. It's very fast, and the array formation is very mature. Then I'll activate it. King Yawu said as he took out a spirit stone to activate the defensive array formation. With the activation of the array, the energy near the platform halfway up Fiend Mountain began to vibrate. Following that, the energy within the array stabilized, turning into a stable space. Very good. Once the teleportation array is set up, we can start the teleportation. King Yawu said. In 4 months, we have set up a great defensive array and completed the construction of the outpost. I wonder where Mo Yutian and his men have been hiding during these 4 months. The nothingness purple light snake and the stone tree were unable to find any traces of them. Night Sorrow was still feeling somewhat worried. Translator, Namiami Editor, Namiami Upper E. Plus as they were talking, the great magic array, which had been operating smoothly, fell into a state of chaos. An energy storm even appeared within the magic array's area, seemingly on the verge of exploding. King Yawu waved his arm and took out a Saint Spirit stone from the base of the formation to stop the operation of the formation. Uncle Master, Is there a problem with the array I set up? That shouldn't be the case. I've checked it multiple times. Night Sorrow asked in surprise. Indeed, it shouldn't be like this. When you were setting it up, I looked at it carefully. There was no conflict. Besides, if it didn't make sense, it wouldn't be activated. There's no reason for it to be unstable after activation. Let's try activating it again. King Yawu didn't understand. Then, King Yawu activated the formation again, and the defensive formation began to operate. At this moment, inside the cave, Utianmo was also puzzled. Just now he had activated the array, but the effect was not good. The energy storm swept over, and almost destroyed everything in the cave. Fortunately, he had stopped the array in time. He checked the array again, and after confirming that there were no problems, he activated the array again. When Mo Yutian activated the array formation, the energy storm appeared once again. The array formation shook and its foundation became unstable. Mo Yutian had no choice but to stop the operation of the array formation and begin his inspection. What Mo Yutian did not know was that when he activated the formation, King Yawu, the Grand Elder and Night Sorrow, who were on the platform halfway up the Demon Mountain, were shocked and stopped the defense formation. What's going on? Night Sorrow was confused. This isn't a problem with the array formation itself. It's an external interference. It should be that the Demon Mountain region will have some energy impact every once in a while. This array formation must be watched by someone. If it doesn't work, it will be stopped. However, we don't dare to use the teleportation array formation even if it's set up. If the energy goes berserk halfway through the teleportation, it will be troublesome, King Yawu said. As a cultivator who had been cultivating for countless months, King Yawu was naturally able to analyze that it wasn't a problem with the array formation itself. It still needs someone to watch over it. This is really troublesome. Night Sorrow muttered. Under such circumstances he couldn't leave. Even if he had news of the Demon Wing clan, he couldn't go. Night Sorrow, don't worry. I'm fine. I'll watch over this array formation. If the energy goes berserk, I can stop the operation of the array formation and restart it after a while. Elder Spiritual Tree could see Night Sorrow's dilemma. Then I'll have to trouble you, Elder Spiritual Tree. Night Sorrow cupped his hands at Elder Spiritual Tree. After Mo Yutian paused the array formation, he began to think about the arrangement of his own array formation. After checking it, Mo Yutian shook his head. He felt that it was wrong to doubt himself. How could he have set up an unreasonable array formation? Mo Yutian felt that the energy was unstable, and that it was the void vortex's fault. It wasn't a problem with the array formation itself. Mo Yutian studied the array formation. He would start it every once in a while. This was a torture for Elder Spiritual Tree. Every time he started the array formation, Elder Spiritual Tree would have to stop the array formation and start it again. First opportunity. Because Night Sorrow and the others had started the array formation first, Mo Yutian's array formation couldn't be started. No one had thought that the two arrays would clash. They just thought that the natural conditions of Samsara Island weren't suitable for setting up an array formation. Mo Yutian didn't think of changing locations. If he couldn't set up an array in the cave, there was no point in changing locations. King Yawu and the others also didn't think of changing locations, because there wasn't a more suitable place. Things were in a deadlock. Mo Yutian would start the array every once in a while. He wanted to test if the energy was stable and if the array could operate stably. He could wait 100 years or even 1,000 years. As long as Samsara Island's energy was stable and the array of this stronghold could operate, then Samsara Island's strategic deployment would be successful. Celestial Realm's troops never stopped searching the Devil-Winged Race's troops on Samsara Island, because this was very important to the safety of the Celestial Realm. After a year, Shirshu and the Void Purple Light Snake had finished setting up camp on Samsara Island under Night Sorrow and Elder Spiritual Tree's arrangements. This meant that they didn't need to search. As long as the Devil-Winged Race appeared, they would be discovered. In a year's time in the real world and 4 months of setting up the array, Night Sorrow's main body had cultivated in the center of the Void Vortex for close to 50 years. He had achieved quite a bit. After the destruction attribute, His time and space attribute had entered the peak Emperor rank. His void attribute was close to the 8-star Emperor rank, and was just one step away from the peak Emperor rank. However, it was stuck at a bottleneck. Night Sorrow was currently researching the limitless attribute, and using other attributes to push his void attribute up. As for the destruction attribute that had entered the peak Emperor rank, after 40 years of accelerated cultivation, he had made some progress. His comprehension was close to 91%. This speed was extremely slow according to Night Sorrow's past cultivation speed. However, Night Sorrow knew that this was normal. Peak Emperor rank was able to comprehend 10% of the power of heaven and earth to increase one rank. However, after reaching peak Emperor rank, every 10% comprehension was a calamity. In this year's time, Devil Mountain's defensive array had vibrated 7 or 8 times. At first, the frequency was high, but later on, the frequency decreased. Every once in a while, Mo Yutian would activate the defensive array he had set up. Chapter 2014. Mo Tianji had to make a choice now. She had cultivated to the peak stage of the Heaven Monarch realm. She could hide her current cultivation level, but if she wanted to increase her cultivation level, she would have to go through the tribulation. She knew very well that going through the tribulation would cause a change in heaven and earth energy. The change in heaven and earth energy couldn't be hidden from Night Sorrow, who was the realm lord. If she didn't go through the wind and fire tribulations, she would only be below the emperor. After thinking about it, Mo Tianji couldn't think of a way to avoid Night Sorrow's detection and go through the tribulation secretly. A realm lord who had fused with the world's origin was too powerful in his own world. His abilities were unimaginable. Mo Tianji didn't want any more problems because she couldn't take the damage to her soul spirit. Also, she didn't want to give up her current body because it was very compatible with her. It was more suitable for her cultivation than the woman with the pure Yin body found in the demon wing race. After thinking for a while, Mo Tianji came up with 2 plans. However, they both required her to leave the 9 regions world to go through the tribulation. The first plan was to use the spatial treasure, and think of a way to force someone to bring her out of the 9 regions world without her knowing. However, she had to give up on fighting Night Sorrow in the 9 regions world. She had to give up her current plan of taking back her original body. The second plan was to create some spatial disturbances. For example, she could trigger an energy riot in the realm sea near other spatial worlds or volcanic eruptions. She could use the energy riot to rush out of the spatial crack and go to other spatial small worlds to go through the tribulation. Both plans had their disadvantages. The first plan was that when she used the teleportation array, she would be easily discovered by Night Sorrow. The result would be that she would be chased endlessly and would be forced to give up her current body. If she used her current body to fight, she wouldn't be a match for Night Sorrow. The difference was too great. She couldn't even escape even if she wanted to. If she was discovered, she could only escape with her soul spirit. The second plan was based on the carelessness of the world's origin. They did not discover that the eruption was man-made, but the possibility was not high. This was because the world's origin was very sensitive to the energy changes in its own world. The energy storms and volcanic eruptions in the world were almost all under the control of the world's origin. A sudden abnormal situation would definitely be noticed. After thinking about it, Mo Tianji decided to go with the first option and leave completely. She was tired. She lost every time she fought with Night Sorrow. She was scared and didn't want to have anything to do with Night Sorrow anymore. She knew that she wasn't as lucky as Night Sorrow. Even if she fought with him, she would still lose. As for the original body, she didn't plan to fight for it anymore. At least, she wouldn't do it before she recovered her peak strength. Mo Tianji smiled wryly after making this decision. It had been 8 epochs. She never thought that she would admit defeat to someone in her heart, but she had to do so now. With a choice, Mo Tianji started to make a plan to leave the 9-domain world. The plan had to be meticulous because it was related to her future, and whether she could survive or not. In the end, Mo Tianji decided to use the advantage of her powerful soul power to kill an ordinary human, or a common demon cultivator in the 9-domain world. Then, she would leave with the spatial magic treasure. After staying in the nine-domain city for a while, Mo Tianji, who had a good understanding of the nine-domain world, decided to control a netherworld race expert. A netherworld race expert with a suitable cultivation and a suitable reason to leave. This way, they could justifiably leave the nine-domain world. Mo Tianji chose a candidate, a nether king from the nether realm. Back then, the strongest expert in the netherworld realm was the nine-in underworld king, Zhu Juyun. She had many underworld kings under her command. However, because of the battle with the nine-domain world, the seven evils king, eight desolation king, and the others all died in battle. Zhu Juyun was the only underworld king left. However, more underworld kings were born later on. Mo Tianji chose an underworld king who was closest to her. She planned to destroy the underworld king's clone first, then wipe out the soul of the underworld king's original body, and control his body to leave. Because the plan was meticulous and careful, Mo Tianji's plan succeeded. The underworld king called Tan was killed by Mo Tianji's clone in the city lord's manor. After his original body was controlled, he took Mo Tianji's spatial magic treasure and left through the teleportation formation. Because Tan was an underworld king from the netherworld realm, Lin Piaomiao's clone guarding the teleportation formation did not stop him. Night Sorrow did not know about this. It was mainly because Mo Tianji's plan was very logical. Mo Tianji reached the nine-domain city and arrived at the teleportation formation. The person guarding it was the expert from the profound mysteries realm, Xian Wenxiu. Xian Wenxiu knew about the situation of the netherworld race. When he learned that Tan, who was already a high-level Saint King, wanted to go to the celestial realm to increase his knowledge, he agreed. He also hoped that the local cultivators of the nine-domain world could become stronger and keep up with the development of the nine-domain world. Cultivators from the outside world were gradually coming to the nine-domain world. If the local cultivators did not work hard, they would be left behind. After Mo Tianji reached the Star Moon City, she did not dare to stay. She left through the teleportation formation. Right now, she wanted to stay away from everything related to Night Sorrow. She did not want to go to the Star Moon City. Plus, with her current strength, it was very difficult for her to do anything there. The information of the nine-domain world was very developed. On the third day after Mo Tianji left, someone discovered something. Someone asked to see Tan, and found the corpse of Tan's clone. In order to minimize the energy ripples, Mo Tianji destroyed the soul of Tan's clone. She did not purposely destroy the body of Tan's clone. When the person saw Tan's corpse, he naturally reported it. It was a big matter that the underworld king had been killed. Initial O number 7 when Tai Shuyan, who was in charge of the Nine Domains World's Commander-in-Chief's office, received the news, she immediately contacted Night Sorrow's Nine Domains doppelganger. Night Sorrow's Nine Realms doppelganger arrived in the Nether Realm and ordered the teleportation formation to be shut down. Then, he and Lin Piaomiao's doppelganger, who was guarding the teleportation formation, went to Stan's residence to investigate. Noticing the appearance of Tan's doppelganger, Lin Piaomiao's expression changed. She told Night Sorrow that this Nether King had left the Nether Realm via the teleportation array 3 days ago, and went to the Nine Regions city. Night Sorrow and Lin Piaomiao naturally understood what this meant. The two of them didn't continue investigating the King of Hell Mansion. Instead, they went straight to Nine Regions city to ask Xian Wenxiu, who was guarding the teleportation array. Xian Wenxiu didn't know what was going on. Seeing that Night Sorrow was asking about Stan, he explained, "Misty, I can't leave. Why don't you go to Star Moon City and take a look?" Night Sorrow said to Lin Misty. Lin Piaomiao went to Star Moon City to investigate, and found out that Stan had left. Then, she returned to the Nine Regions world and told Night Sorrow about the situation. Mo Tianji ran away. There's nothing we can do about it. Unless we directly seal the Nether Realm and shut down the teleportation formation. I thought about it before, but that would delay the development of the Nine Regions world. Night Sorrow sighed. This is my negligence. I didn't think about this. I didn't think that Mo Tianji would control the bodies of other cultivators and leave. Lin Piaomiao said. So what if she ran away? If she doesn't leave the Nine Regions world, she can only be below the Emperor level. She was afraid, so she left without a care. In fact, I'm not afraid either. Her being in the 9 regions world is like a knife hanging over my heart. Night Sorrow laughed bitterly. But she ran away. It will be difficult to catch her again, Lin Piaomiao said. No, we have Zhu Juyun's essence blood. Night Sorrow shook his head. Chapter 2015. After Zhu Juyun's clone was possessed, the Grand Elder used a secret technique to sever the connection between Zhu Juyun's main body and his clone. This was to prevent Mo Tianji from harming Zhu Juyun's main body. However, before he severed the connection, he left behind Zhu Juyun's essence blood. The essence blood and the clone could form a connection. Night Sorrow planned to use the essence blood left behind by Zhu Juyun to deal with Mo Tianji. However, he had to wait. Mo Tianji's cultivation was below the Emperor realm. She couldn't leave the Celestial realm. His main body and battle clone were busy at Reincarnation Island. There were priorities. Reincarnation Island's matter was the most important. He couldn't let the demon-winged race gain a foothold there. Once the demon-winged race used Reincarnation Island as a springboard to invade the Celestial realm, Sky Desolate City's existence would be meaningless. The enemy would invade the core of the city. I wasn't attentive enough. Lin Piaomiao looked at Night Sorrow apologetically. Sister Xian, you think too much. Some things can't be avoided. Actually, I feel more at ease now that Mo Tianji has escaped. There are no hidden dangers within our city. My family is the most important to me. The 9-domain world is where my roots are. Night Sorrow hugged Lin Piaomiao and said. Lin Piaomiao nodded. She felt a little guilty. She could understand Night Sorrow's mentality. After leaving the Star Moon Lake region, Mo Tianji felt more at ease. The Celestial realm was much safer than the 9-domain world. This was because there was no powerful realm lord. After she was safe, Mo Tianji felt a little worried. She was safer, but she gave up a lot of opportunities. She gave up the chance to possess the main body. She even gave up the chance to control the 9-domain world. %B start %JIT was a great opportunity. However, there were some risks that Mo Tianji wasn't willing to take. Staying alive was the most important thing. Besides, she felt that her current body wasn't bad. She would recover her strength quickly. Only with strength would she have the confidence to fight Night Sorrow again. After reaching the Heaven World's deep desolation, Mo Tianji released her cultivation and triggered the trials of wind and fire. She had to reach the Monarch realm first. After Mo Tianji escaped, Night Sorrow's battle clone told King Wu and the Grand Elder about it. He also apologized. After all, he had left a hidden danger in the Celestial realm. After hearing the whole story, King Wu shook his head and said, Mo Tianji has planned this. You can't defend against her. Besides, she knows that her real body is in the 9-domain world, but she doesn't dare to stay in the 9-domain world. This means that she is afraid. If a cultivator is afraid, it means that her Tao heart is already unstable. Her fate is just SOSO, so she won't be a big threat. Night Sorrow, don't blame yourself. The 9-domain world is the future supreme world. It's very important to the human race and the Celestial realm's 100 races. There can't be any unstable factors. It's a good thing that she left. At least we know that the rear is stable. The Grand Elder also spoke. He knew Night Sorrow's personality and knew that he had to talk to him. Plus, this kind of thing should be the responsibility of the older generation. Night Sorrow shouldn't have to shoulder it. Night Sorrow nodded. He understood that King Wu and the Grand Elder didn't want him to be under too much pressure. Uncle Grand Elder, don't worry. I have the essence blood of Zhu Juyun before she cut off the connection between her original body and her avatar. After the crisis on Samsara Island is resolved, I'll go to the Celestial realm to catch her. If she can't kill me, I'll kill her, Night Sorrow said. I don't know if you can kill her, but I'm sure she can't kill you. The 3 grand heavens of the Demon Wing clan haven't shown up for a long time. You're so young. But you've already crossed paths with 2 of them. You're still alive. It's rare. The Grand Elder patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. In the past, the appearance of each of the 3 grand heavens of the Demon Wing clan represented a reign of terror. They were all a blow to the Celestial realm. However, in this era, Mo Tianji and Mo Yutian appeared one after another, but they didn't do anything. It could even be said that they were in a passive state when facing Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, Uncle and the Grand Elder have talked. The biggest danger on Samsara Island is the Void Purple Light Snakes. Can you communicate with the Void Purple Light Snake Kings and ask them not to harm the practitioners of the 100 races of the Celestial Realm? This way, we can send 2 unified armies into Samsara Island and carry out a comprehensive defense, King Yawu said. Hearing King Yawu's words, Night Sorrow waved his hand and asked Little Z, who was with Sikong Chiyu, Yang Lei and Aoi, to come over. After receiving Little Z's affirmative answer, Night Sorrow nodded to King Yawu. You are a being of the Celestial Realm. It is natural for you to work hard for the stability of the Celestial Realm. However, I am very grateful for your understanding. King Yawu looked at Little Z and said. Little Z shook its body and shook its head. It naturally knew that King Yawu was a big shot. It was very happy to receive his affirmation. Then, the Grand Elder went to make arrangements for the Celestial Wasteland Army. They didn't dare to use the teleportation formation, so he had to bring the people back and forth. Uncle Master, I plan to comprehend the swordsmanship that Master left behind. Yi Shang told King Yawu his thoughts. No, you can only comprehend it after you pass the Heavenly Emperor's tribulation. King Yawu rejected Night Sorrow's suggestion and gave a condition. Night Sorrow didn't understand. He felt that there was nothing for his clone to cultivate. He felt that cultivating Yan Wushuang's sword Dao could increase his strength. Your Dao is different from your master's. You have your own Dao, the Dao of moral cultivation and the Dao of taboo samsara. Before the Heavenly Emperor's tribulation comes, your Dao is not stable enough. It is not suitable for you to come into contact with your master's taboo sword Dao. It will have a great impact on your Dao, and won't do you any good. King Yawu explained the reason. He taught Night Sorrow the same way he taught his disciple, so he didn't hide anything. Thank you for your advice, Uncle. I understand. Night Sorrow bowed to King Yawu. You don't have to be so polite with me. You are the human emperor of the human race, but you are also the successor of the divine capital. Therefore, I look forward to your growth, King Yawu said with a smile. Night Sorrow understood that supporting the human emperor of the human race was based on the overall situation. King Yawu also had personal feelings. Then King Yawu asked about Night Sorrow's cultivation. Night Sorrow told King Yawu about the cultivation of his various attributes. It is difficult to advance them simultaneously, but they are balanced. You made the right choice. Don't be in a hurry to advance the destruction and space-time attributes. First, improve the nothingness and Wuji attributes. If your achievements in each attribute are high, your taboo attribute will be strong and you will have no shortcomings, King Yawu said. Chapter 2016. Taboo attributes were a combination of attributes. For example, the reincarnation attribute was a combination of destruction, space, time, life and death attributes. It could also be said that it was a combination of destruction, space-time, and infinity attributes. The achievement of these attributes determined the achievement and power of the reincarnation taboo attribute. For example, if several attributes were below 30% of the power of heaven and earth, then the combination would be a beginner taboo attribute. If several attributes were at 40% to 60% of the power of heaven and earth, then the combination would be an intermediate taboo attribute. If several attributes were at 70% to 90% of the power of heaven and earth, then the combination would be an advanced taboo attribute. If several attributes were cultivated to the Emperor Tribulation level, then the combination would be a top-level taboo attribute. Of course, if several attributes were cultivated to the Emperor Tribulation level, then the combination would be a perfect taboo attribute. It's so complicated. Uncle, I'm more compatible with the nothingness and space-time attributes. The destruction attribute is average, and I'm not good at the infinity attribute. It's probably more difficult to cultivate all of them. Night Sorrow said. Aha, you're already an intermediate taboo attribute. Are you afraid that you won't be able to achieve it in the future? Take it slow. This reincarnation hasn't entered the 9th era yet. I'll give you an era. I believe that you won't have a problem cultivating a top-level taboo attribute, let alone an advanced one. King Yawu was very confident in Night Sorrow because Night Sorrow was very young and had accumulated a very strong foundation. I'll work hard. Night Sorrow nodded. The key to understanding and cultivating attributes is the foundation and starting point. It's too difficult to have the supreme attribute. In the entire celestial realm, there's only one person who has the supreme attribute as a foundation. There are others who have cultivated it to perfection, but they all spent countless years to deduce. The supreme attribute is only a foundation. It's also extremely difficult to have the 4 advanced attributes. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called a taboo attribute, King Yawu said. Since I have the unique conditions, what I need to do is to make full use of them, Night Sorrow said. After chatting with King Yawu for a while, Yishang felt a lot more cheerful. The road ahead would be very difficult, but it was not like he could not see the light. Everything had entered a rapid development, and he had a good foundation. The Grand Elder left to make arrangements for the Heaven Wasteland army to enter the Samsara Island. As for whether Mo Yutian and the others had successfully established a stronghold, Night Sorrow was not worried because there was no such possibility at the moment. Samsara Island could be said to be under the surveillance of the people of the celestial realm. It would be difficult for the demon-winged clan to do anything. A few days later, the Grand Elder led the 2 Heaven Wasteland armies to Samsara Island and began their training and exploration. Seeing that the Heaven Wasteland army had arrived, Night Sorrow decided to leave. He wanted to go back and capture Mo Tianji. J. Look at X right edition. Chapter S section H above. Y. However, the Grand Elder and King Yawu did not agree because they felt that Night Sorrow's cultivation was a big deal. Also, they felt that Mo Tianji would not be able to do much. The mayor's clone arrived at the Samsara Island too. While the 3 leaders were chatting, they also called Night Sorrow over. The members of the First Army and the God-slaying team are in good condition. They have a bright future. After you appeared, you brought vitality to the Heaven Wasteland city, the Tran Hung said as he glanced at the stronghold's camping area. This is because I came back alive. If I had fallen on Heaven Wasteland, how could I have survived? Night Sorrow muttered. Haha. My great prophecy technique is not fake. If I say you won't die, you won't die. Besides, that kind of high-pressure cultivation is only good for you, the Tran Hung said with a smile. Yes. Look at how energetic you are now. You're all so positive. It's good to be young, the Grand Elder said with a smile. They're very happy. With such a group of positive people in the celestial realm, the future is full of hope, the mayor said. Night Sorrow, my generation is very tired. They're not afraid of dying in battle, but they're afraid that they can't bear it. I'm afraid that in our generation, in the era we live in, the heaven realm will fall. I'm also afraid that there won't be any talents left in the heaven realm. If that's the case, we'll have to endure to the end until we're reduced to ashes. We'll be unwilling to leave, King Yawu said. There's still a lot of time. Isn't there another epoch? I only have one epoch. When the time comes, I'll have to go through the baptism of the highest tribulation like you, the mayor, and the Grand Elder. If we can pass it, we'll pass it together. If we fail, there's nothing to say. Night Sorrow said. He had the forbidden attribute. After an epoch, the God-slaying tribulation would come. According to his lifespan, the mayor King Yawu and the Grand Elder would also have to go through the God-slaying tribulation. That's right. You're also under a lot of pressure. So don't worry too much about Mo Tianji, who hasn't even become an emperor yet. Besides, it's not easy to find her. She has treasures that can avoid divination. Plus, she has spatial treasures that can hide her whereabouts. It's not easy to find her if she really wants to hide. Mayor Mo Tianji has been through so much. Is she really done for? The Grand Elder looked at the mayor after saying a few words. The continuous attacks have caused great damage to Mo Tianji. It can be said that her soul is irrecoverable. Even though she's a cultivator who has passed the God-slaying tribulation of the 7 emperors, her strength is no longer the same as her cultivation level. As for her immortal potential, she's already gone. It's unknown whether she can pass the next emperor-slaying tribulation. The mayor nodded. Then, the mayor told Night Sorrow some of the decisions they had discussed with the elders. They were about to enter the last epoch of this reincarnation cycle. In the last epoch, the celestial realm didn't plan to be conservative anymore. They wanted to invade Tianhuang and have a real fight with the Demon Wing clan, which was the final battle. The celestial realm has the 100 Races Alliance. The Demon Wing clan has the 100 Kings tribe. They're all branches of the Demon Wing clan. Night Sorrow, you may not understand. In the Demon Wing clan, only a tribe with a king can be called a king tribe. King is a title that only the Demon Wing clan above the god-slaying tribulation of the 5 emperors can have. The final battle will be between the celestial realm and the Demon Wing clan in the deserted world in Tianhuang. King Yawu said, I understand. There are many divine beast races in the celestial realm. Plus, the 100 races are united, so we'll face the battle calmly. Night Sorrow didn't feel any pressure. After returning to his tent, Night Sorrow made a pot of tea and thought about something. He understood why the mayor didn't let him go back. Even with Zhu Juyun's essence and blood, he might not be able to catch Mo Tianji. Mo Tianji had a treasure that could prevent her from being divined. What he needed now was to improve his strength. While Night Sorrow was thinking, Sikong Chiyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi entered Night Sorrow's tent. They all looked excited. Chapter 2017. Yujun has already returned to the city in the sky. He told us that he is going to undergo his tribulation. His comprehension of the will of heaven and earth has already reached perfection. He should have done it in Star Moon City, but he felt that it would be safer to do it in the city in the sky, Sikong Chiyu said. That's great. I taught them how to cultivate the leakless true body. It won't be difficult for them to pass the trials of wind and fire. We just have to wait and celebrate for him. Night Sorrow's hand that was holding the teapot trembled. He was the happiest when his children achieved something. I didn't expect Yujun to be the fastest. I thought Yi Xiaolei would be the first to reach the imperial realm after Shaluo, but she was stuck at a bottleneck, Datira said. Among Night Sorrow's 5 children, Yi Shaluo was the most talented, followed by Yi Lingxi, Yi Xiaolei, Yi Yujun, and Yi Qingyan. Yi Lingxi was still young, so she hadn't cultivated for as long as her brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter who enters the imperial realm first. They all have the potential. Their children and grandchildren have their own paths, Night Sorrow said with a smile. This was good news for Night Sorrow. The 9-domain avatar that was guarding the 9-domain world in the Sky Ceiling Palace had returned to the city in the sky. He drank a jar of wine with his son and sent him to the lake to undergo the trials of wind and fire. He waited at the side. Yi Yujun bowed to his father and went to undergo the tribulation. Night Sorrow waited at the side with the Yi family. Although he knew that there wouldn't be any danger after cultivating the leakless true body, Night Sorrow didn't want to leave. He wanted to tell his son that no matter what happened, his father would always be by his side. Father, have a cup of tea. Second brother will be fine. Yi Shaluo brewed a pot of tea and went to Night Sorrow's side. When you were undergoing the trials of wind and fire, I wasn't by your side. You had to bear it all by yourself. Night Sorrow turned around and patted Yi Shaluo's shoulder. All these years, he had always felt guilty toward his family. A father's love is like a mountain. Even if you weren't by our side, we could still feel your care and love and care. I feel lucky to be your son, Yi Shaluo said. Yi Shang went to the wooden boat by the lake and sat down. He poured tea for his father and mother who had rushed over. Father, we're proud to be your children, Yi Qingyan said. Night's children. All. Yi. That's what you think. Actually, in father's heart, your happy life is the most important. Hurry up and get married. Whether father becomes a grandfather or a grandfather first, it's all good, Yi Shan said with a smile. Father, you're going to be a grandfather soon. After Yujun becomes an emperor, he'll probably bring up the topic of marriage immediately. Xin, is that right? Asked Yi Qingyan, looking at Qin Ziyin, who had also been waiting. Qin Ziyin nodded. She understood Yi Yujun. In Yi Yujun's heart, his father and mother were his role models. He had always hoped that he could achieve something and give the people he loved a stable life. Becoming a sovereign was Yi Yujun's wish for himself. Okay. After Yujun becomes a great emperor, I'll arrange it. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. Yi Yujun's trials of wind and fire didn't bring him any danger. After the trials, the people in the Sky City naturally celebrated. During the celebration, Night Sorrow talked to Yi Yujun about marriage. Father, I don't plan to make it a big deal. It's meaningless. I've discussed it with Zine. We'll just have the parents of the two families sit together and host a family banquet. It'll be simple, Yi Yujun said. Original version _ premiere yes. Father, you don't have to worry about us, Qin Zine said. She knew that Night Sorrow had been busy with cultivation and the matters in the celestial realm. Chiyu, what do you think? Night Sorrow looked at Sikong Chiyu. Sikong Chiyu nodded. She respected her child's opinion. The Yi family didn't like to be ostentatious. Night Sorrow didn't have to worry about the rest of the matters. Someone went to prepare some etiquette. Right after Yi Yujun's wedding, a war broke out in Tianhuang City. It was the biggest war in half an era. Mo Yutian and Mo Zhantian of the Demon Wing clan led their troops to attack Tianhuang City. The two sides engaged in a fierce battle on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. The outcome of the battle was tragic. Mo Yutian and Mo Zhantian were defeated by the City Lord and King Yawu. The 100 Races Alliance and the army of the Demon Wing clan both suffered heavy casualties. When Night Sorrow heard the news on Samsara Island, the battle had already ended. 3 out of the 30 armies of Tianhuang City had lost their men. Some of the elders of the 100 Races Alliance had also fallen. The Nirvana Ocean Bridge was also filled with the corpses of the Demon Wing clan. The City Lord and the others didn't understand why the Demon Wing clan suddenly went crazy and attacked Tianhuang City. King Yawu called Night Sorrow into the tent and discussed the battle situation with Night Sorrow. Yi Shang got some news from King Yawu's doppelganger. Mo Zhantian of the Demon Wing clan had suddenly risen. He was very strong and had surpassed Mo Yutian. He was on par with the City Lord of Heavenly Desolation. Mo Zhantian has been keeping a low profile. He has merged his original body with his doppelganger. This is to prepare for the God-destroying tribulation. Currently, only the City Lord of Tianhuang City has done this in the celestial realm. Uncle always thought that there was no need to rush, but it seems that he has to take this step ahead of time. Uncle will not be here in the future. The doppelganger of the Grand Elder will replace him, King Yawu said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that the situation was very tense. King Yawu and the others had to make some decisions. King Yawu left. Night Sorrow felt a little heavy. After merging his soul, he would only live for one era if he didn't pass the God-destroying tribulation. What are you thinking about? Thinking about this war? Don't worry. You don't have to worry about the current situation. The Grand Elder came to the edge of the stronghold and accompanied Night Sorrow to look at the broken sky mountain. The war has brought a lot of damage to the celestial realm, Night Sorrow said. Yes. In order to win the war, the City Lord of Tianhuang City and the City Lord of Yawu made the choice to merge their souls. They gave up the path of reincarnation. They planned to resist the God-destroying tribulation and leave the chance of reincarnation to me. This was a choice they had no choice but to make, the Grand Elder said in a low voice. Yi Shang's heart shook as he turned to look at the Grand Elder. When the original body and doppelganger merge, the soul will merge with the original body. Once the soul and the spirit become one, there will be no chance of reincarnation. I hope they succeed, but the chances are slim. In all the records, there is no mention of passing the God-destroying tribulation. As far as we know, the one who came closest to completing the God-destroying tribulation was an ancestor of the Demon Wing clan, but he didn't pass it completely. Why was the Demon Wing clan able to gain a foothold in the celestial realm? It was because the Demon Imperial City was the divine sea world of the ancestor of the Demon Wing clan. We couldn't break in at all. The Ren Huang of the last reincarnation was amazing. He fought his way into the Demon Wing City several times, but he was beaten back. There was nothing we could do, the Grand Elder said in a low voice. Chapter 2018. The celestial realm has gone through 1,000 reincarnations, and each reincarnation is as tragic as this. Too many ancestors of the human race and the 100 races fought for the stability of the celestial realm, and died in the long river of history. There are some records of this. Let me tell you. The Grand Elder's voice was low. In the beginning of the Celestial Realm, the most powerful race was the Celestial Luo clan. They ruled the Celestial Realm for several reincarnations. In order to fight against the Demon-Winged clan, the entire Celestial Luo clan died in battle. In the Second Era, the Constellation clan was extremely powerful. They led the 100 races of the Celestial Realm to fight against the Demon-Winged clan for more than 10 reincarnations. They also died in battle until the last person was left. In the Third Era, the Inferno clan was the strongest in the Celestial Realm. They also led the Celestial Realm to fight against the Demon-Winged clan for several reincarnations. The result was the same. However, they had descendants. The current Fire Spirit clan was a descendant of the Inferno clan. In the Fourth Era, the ruling race of the Celestial Realm was the Moon Spirit clan. The result was the same. In the Fifth Era. In the Sixth Era, the most prosperous era of the Celestial Realm was the Ninth Era. In history, it was called the Celestial Realm Era. At that time, the ruling race of the Celestial Realm was the Blood Moon Azura clan. They were close to the human race and were known as the strongest fighting race. At that time, the Celestial Realm was almost unified. However, they could not take down the demonic Imperial City. This was because the demonic Imperial City was the spirit sea of one of the ancestors of the Demon-Winged clan. At that time, the 100 races of the Celestial Realm realized that cultivators who had not passed the God-destroying tribulation could not break the defense of the demonic Imperial City. They could not destroy the foundation of the Demon-Winged clan in the Celestial Realm. Even if they could break in, their cultivation would be suppressed. They could not destroy the orthodoxy of the Demon-Winged clan. The demonic Imperial City was connected to the deserted world. If the demonic Imperial City could not be destroyed, then the Demon-Winged clan could continue to pose a threat to the Celestial Realm. For countless years, the sages of the 100 races of the Celestial Realm have been working hard for this goal. Countless talented sages have passed the God-destroying tribulation in order to destroy the demonic Imperial City. The spirit of resistance has been passed down from generation to generation. Once upon a time, the Celestial Realm Emperor Ji Dao, the Celestial King, the Fire Emperor Lai Yen, the Golden Dragon King Shirtian, and the Azura Queen Yi Tianxin have all fought their way to the demonic Imperial City. They fought until the end of their lives for the stability of the Celestial Realm. Our reincarnation is the last era of the Celestial Realm. My ancestors were from the Ji Dao family. My ancestor was the Ji Dao Heavenly Emperor, the human emperor of the human race. I am ashamed to face my ancestors, said the Grand Elder. We may only be a page in this long history book, but we want to be that glorious page. Even if we die in battle, we have to tell the future generations that we participated in the battle against the Demon-Winged clan. We have been to this world. We have to leave a mark that belongs to us, said Night Sorrow. Set the universe, control reincarnation, control the beginning, immortal walk the world. This is the prophecy left behind by our ancestor, the Extreme Path Heavenly Emperor. The cultivators of the Celestial Realm have been working hard for countless years. The Golden Dragon King Shirtian and the Shura Empress Yi Tianxin both tried to break through the God-destroying tribulation. Yi Tianxin was the closest to success, but he failed in the end. The Yawa Mountain in the Celestial Realm is the head of the dragon veins in the Celestial Realm. It is where the body of the Golden Dragon King Shirtian was after he fell. It has been guarding the fate of the Celestial Realm. After Yi Tianxin fell, he left behind the Wasteland Tower. The Wasteland Tower has been passed down from generation to generation. A few reincarnations ago, when the Demon-Winged clan attacked the Wasteland Tower once unleashed a sword attack that killed the strongest member of the Demon-Winged clan. According to the history books, it was a sword chi left behind by Yi Tianxin. Your master's sword Dao is the Shura Empress Yi Tianxin's sword Dao, said the Grand Elder. Night Sorrow waved his arm. I didn't know that the Yi clan had someone so powerful. Although it has nothing to do with me, I am still a little excited. This is the last reincarnation of the Celestial Realm. However, the 9-domain world has also risen. The rise of the 9-domain world means that the 100 races of the Celestial Realm have a way out. Outside the Demon Mountain's cave, Mo Yutian's face was gloomy, because his plan had failed. The Demon-Winged Clan's attack on the Wasteland Tower was part of his plan. He wanted to divert the forces of the Celestial Realm from the Reincarnation Island, so that he would have room to do something on the Reincarnation Island. Now that he sensed the aura of the Grand Elder on the Reincarnation Island, he still couldn't act recklessly. In addition, Mo Yutian also saw how powerful the forces of the Celestial Realm were. Mo Zhantian's strength was very strong, but he was still suppressed by the City Lord of the Wasteland Tower. His original body was also at a disadvantage when fighting King Yawu. In addition, the two Grand Elders of the Demon Ancestor Hall were also unable to win against the Grand Elder. As for the battle between ordinary cultivators, both sides were equally matched. Mo Yutian was clear of the situation. This time, only a portion of the Demon-Winged Clan's forces were sent out. Similarly, only a portion of the Celestial Realm's forces were sent out from the Celestial Realm. The divine beasts of the Celestial Realm also didn't participate. The situation was very uncertain. In addition, Mo Yutian was also clear that the reason why the formation in the Demon Mountain's cave couldn't be activated was because the forces of the Celestial Realm had already set up a formation halfway up the mountain. This was also the reason why Mo Yutian started the war. However, the forces of the Celestial Realm didn't withdraw. His plan couldn't be carried out. After thinking for a while, Mo Yutian decided to change the location of his development. He knew that he couldn't do anything if he stayed on the Demon Mountain. Mo Yutian had already dismantled the formation foundations in the Heaven Vault. Setting up a large-scale formation consumed a lot of spirit stones. He had to keep them. After keeping the Saint Spirit Stones used to set up the formation, Mo Yutian looked at Xiang Dragon and Sui Yuan. You two have done well this time. The base didn't succeed because of other reasons. Now think about it. Are there any other suitable places to set up a base? The Void Purple Light Snake has always been in the outer regions of the Broken Mountain. They didn't enter the inner regions of the mountain. We can try there, Xiang Dragon said. After thinking for a while, Mo Yutian nodded. He felt that this was one of the feasible methods. Not long after Mo Yutian left, the dragon language came looking for Night Sorrow. She had sensed something strange. Is it far? Night Sorrow asked. It shouldn't be far. It should be a bloodline connection, the dragon language said. Gather the troops and set off. Night Sorrow said to Long Jin, who had also rushed over. He knew that the dragon language belonged to the Black Dragons. If there was a bloodline connection in the Devil Mountain, it wasn't a small matter. He had to go check it out. After Night Sorrow gathered the troops, the Grand Elder who noticed the commotion also came over. He didn't know what Night Sorrow wanted to do and was a little worried. He wanted to ask about it. Night Sorrow explained the situation to the Grand Elder. Leave half of the troops here to guard this place. This seat will follow you guys and take a look, the Grand Elder said. Look at the Y2 version F chapter asterisk. On the section Z hashtag. After the battle at the Night Moon Manor, the Black Dragons had been cleaned up. The Black Dragons were the Black Dragons of the Celestial Realm. Hence, the Grand Elder had to pay attention to the matters of the Black Dragons. Under the guidance of the dragon language, the group walked in circles for a while and arrived at the entrance of the Devil Mountain Cave. Brother, I feel like it's here. The dragon language pointed at the cave and said, It seems like the secret of the Devil Mountain also exists here. Everyone be careful. Night Sorrow said and entered the cave. Chapter 2019. Night Sorrow entered the cave, followed by the Grand Elder, the First Army's soldiers, and the members of the God-slaying team. There were some low-level spirit stones on the mountain walls inside the cave, emitting light, but it wasn't dark. As they moved forward, the situation inside the cave was also displayed in front of everyone's eyes. There were damaged array bases, all of which were new traces, and dragon language was moving towards one place. Night Sorrow and the others followed behind. If dragon language had a target, then her senses would be in front. As they moved forward, they reached the end of the cave. Standing in front of the mountain wall, dragon language thought for a moment, looked around and punched the mountain wall. With the shock of Dragon Language's punch, the mountain wall collapsed, and then another small cave appeared. In the middle of the cave, there was a huge dragon egg, but it was damaged, missing the upper half. Long Yu walked over, and Night Sorrow followed. Everyone saw that there was a skeleton inside the eggshell. It was a skeleton without any blood essence and had already dried up. It was the skeleton of a black dragon with scales stuck to the skeleton. There was no flesh or blood left. Brother, Grand Elder, this skeleton is my relative. Dragon Language's voice was a little choked. Night Sorrow reached out and patted Dragon Language's shoulder. He understood a little. The dragon egg and Dragon Language in front of him were the two sons of the strongest Black Dragon King in the previous reincarnation. A pair of sons that had not hatched for a long time. Of the two sons of the strongest Black Dragon King in the previous reincarnation, one of the dragon eggs was taken away by the Demon Wing clan. And the other was Dragon Language. Dragon-headed man, I swear in Dragon Language, either you die or I die. This hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. Dragon Language's hair fluttered, and his eyes were full of anger. Night Sorrow was also extremely angry. Although the details were not clear, the general situation was already clear. All of this was related to the Demon Wing clan and the dragon-headed man. This skeleton is called Moungia, a member of the Demon Wing clan in the previous reincarnation. All of this should be his reason. As for why he brought the Dragon King's son here, it's not clear. Perhaps it was because the space was unstable after the war, or some unknown means, he came here after the war. It was also because he took this dragon egg that the black dragons fell for all these years. Grand Elder pointed to a soulless but lifelike Demon Wing clan elder beside the dragon egg. Yi Shang and Long Yu could understand that the last battle in the previous reincarnation cycle was very intense. The space was shattered and the space passageways appeared. Some of the demon-winged clan were left in the heaven realm. Moungia, who controlled the Black Dragon clan and took away the dragon egg, should be a group of demon-winged clan. Dragon Language shook her fist, and destructive energy appeared, shattering Moungia's skeleton. Dragon Language was a branch of the destruction attribute. This punch was not something that Moungia's skeleton, who had not cultivated Taoist rhymes, could withstand. After destroying Moungia's skeleton, Dragon Language stepped forward and put away the broken dragon egg. I don't know if you are my elder brother, sister, or younger brother or sister. I'll take you back to the Black Dragons. Dragon Language's voice was a little choked, because that was her close relative. The reason why our stronghold's formation is unstable is also known. Under the lead of the dragon-headed man and the snake-headed man, Moutian came here to arrange a large formation. Because the two defensive arrays are relatively close to each other, and both have a component that stabilizes the void, a conflict has arisen. As long as he activates the array, our array will become unstable, and so will his. That's why he's preparing to migrate. That's why Draconic sensed it after he left, said Night Sorrow. This also means that in the past, he has been hiding here all this time, and has not done anything. This is also the reason why the Demon Wing clan started a war against Tianhuang City. He wants us to feel a sense of crisis and give up on this place to reinforce Tianhuang City, the Grand Elder said. Night Sorrow nodded. As long as one was not stupid, some things could be figured out by thinking about it. Dragon Language sensed this. Otherwise, we wouldn't have found this place. We also don't know what Moutian has done, and what he wants to do. Long Jin said in a low voice. Dragon Language's relatives were harmed, and he felt the same way, so he was also very angry. Little Purple, tell the Void Purple Light Snakes to expand their area of activity. If they are attacked, report to us. Night Sorrow said to Little Purple, the Void Purple Light Snake King, who was coiled on his arm. Little Purple's body trembled and gave a response. It also conveyed the message to the Void Purple Light Snakes. And unspecified currency. The Spiritual Tree Elder also passed the order to the Stone Tree Clan Patriarch who was beside him. Since Moutian had left Demon Mountain, he would find the next suitable base. Moutian will definitely be on guard against the Void Purple Light Snakes. Therefore, the Void Purple Light Snakes will only discover Moutian and the others when they are moving. In the past, when there were no bases, Mo Yutian's soul power was strong enough to avoid the detection of the void purple light snakes. When there is a base that cannot be avoided, he will choose to kill them. Wherever the void purple light snakes are attacked, they will be there. Also, whether we can find them or not will depend on the Stone Tree Clan's arrangements, Night Sorrow said. The Grand Elder, the Spiritual Tree Elder, and the Stone Tree Clan Patriarch all nodded. Night Sorrow was analyzing the current situation. Then everyone checked the cave. Night Sorrow picked up Mo Yunjia's storage ring and opened it. After opening Mo Yunjia's storage ring, Night Sorrow breathed a sigh of relief. He had been wondering why he did not find anything left behind from the battle between the 100 Clan Alliance and the Demon Wing Clan. Now he understood that everything was in Mo Yunjia's hands. There were so many weapons and Holy Spirit stones. Night Sorrow handed the storage ring to the Grand Elder. This should be left behind from the last reincarnation war. After looking at it, the Grand Elder was extremely shocked. This was because the number of weapons left behind was very large. It would be of great help to the 100 Clan Alliance because they were the weapons of the ancestors of the 100 Clan Alliance. After exploring the cave thoroughly, Night Sorrow and the others returned to the base. Back at the base, Night Sorrow set up the transmission formation. The base of the formation in the cave had been destroyed by Mo Yutian himself, so there would be no interference with the operation of the base's formation. It would be stable in the future, and there would be no problem using the transmission formation. After Night Sorrow set up the transmission formation, the original body of the Grand Elder came from the Infinite Desolation City. He brought the transmission crystal clone of the Infinite Desolation City's transmission formation, and the transmission crystal, which directly connected the transmission formation. While Elder Ling Shu was guarding the defensive array, he was also guarding the teleportation array. In addition, the Elder of the Infinite Desolation City's law enforcement clan, Qin Qianjia, also came. The establishment of a base on Reincarnation Island was a big deal. It had to be safe. The original body of the Grand Elder and his clone did not leave. They both stayed in the base because he was worried that a clone would not be able to restrain Mo Yutian. Night Sorrow's clone stayed in the base. Sometimes he would bring the team out for a walk. The original body had been cultivating in the time acceleration. His main research direction was the limitless attribute. His limitless attribute was at 50%, which was the lowest achievement among the attributes. Other than that, he wanted to advance the destruction, void and spacetime attributes by analogy. Night Sorrow also hoped that his other attributes could reach 91%, so that he could attempt the Heavenly Tao Emperor's tribulation. Chapter 2020. Mo Yutian's soul power was powerful. He avoided the void purple light snake's detection, and went to the inner part of Broken Sky Mountain, where the human emperor and the demon ancestor fought. Although some traces were gone, Mo Yutian could still feel the aura of the battle. He bowed towards the place where the demon ancestor fell. The demon ancestor was the strongest expert of the demon wing race in the previous reincarnation. He was a 9-emperor tribulation expert, and the most likely to pass the god-destroying tribulation in this reincarnation. However, the human emperor passed the god-destroying tribulation early, and he had to stop him. Once the human emperor of the celestial realm passed the god-destroying tribulation, it would be a devastating disaster for the demon wing race. When the human emperor passed the tribulation and the demon ancestor came, the two didn't just fight, but also the god-destroying tribulation at the same time. Because of his interference, the demon ancestor's god-destroying tribulation came early. Originally, the demon ancestor had a higher chance of passing the god-destroying tribulation than the human emperor. However, when his soul was attacked by the tribulation, the human emperor suddenly gave up on his own tribulation and used the god-destroying tribulation to attack the demon ancestor. This caused the demon ancestor to suffer 2 god-destroying tribulations and the human emperor's attack, causing his soul to be destroyed. Similarly, the human emperor who gave up on his own tribulation also died. That battle was the pinnacle of the previous reincarnation. Ancestors above, our race is still working hard. If we can't take down the celestial realm, then we will take down the next supreme realm. Our generation might not be able to, but the young generation of the desolate world has already risen, Mo Yutian muttered. He was the direct descendant of the demon ancestor, and was born in the last era of the previous reincarnation. Because of his outstanding talent, he received guidance from the demon ancestor. After paying respects to the ancestors, Mo Yutian moved everyone out of his spatial treasure. This was once an ultimate battlefield. The energy here isn't very stable. You guys look around and find a suitable place, Mo Yutian ordered. Knight Sorrow often led the team to battle. When he had nothing to do, he would cultivate his spear arts in the stronghold. The Grand Elder wasn't stingy with his guidance to Knight Sorrow. Qin Qianjie also often communicated with Knight Sorrow. She admired Knight Sorrow more. Outside of cultivation, Knight Sorrow and the Grand Elder would ask Qin Qianjie about cultivation knowledge. As for the cultivation path after peak Emperor rank, Knight Sorrow was becoming clearer and clearer. Entering the Heavenly Tao's ninth arch tribulations was the cultivation of the Tao. Most importantly, it concerned one's future direction and the foundation of the Tao. Knight Sorrow had comprehended his own Tao. It was the Tao of merit that cultivated one's character and virtue. This was recognized by the heavens. The Merit Emperor's merit position was the recognition of the Heavenly Tao. In addition, the cultivation of the taboo attribute reincarnation Tao was also fixed. What troubled Knight Sorrow the most was the arrangement for the other taboo attribute. Should he cultivate it or not? The Grand Elder and Qin Qianjie couldn't give him an answer, because no one knew what would happen if he had two taboo attributes. Would he be punished by the heavens? No one could give him any suggestions. Knight Sorrow called Longjin and Tianyu to his tent. Brother Shursan, what's the matter? Tianyu asked after sitting down. Although Tianyu had married Yi Nianxiao, he was still the same and hadn't matured much. You two sit down. I have something to tell you. Don't look at it from the perspective of caring for me. Think objectively and put yourself in my shoes. Yi Shang took out 2 jars of wine and gave them to Longjin and Tianyu. Then he sat down and started talking about the primordial attribute. Actually, it's not that complicated. According to the lifespan calculation, no matter how severe the Heavenly Tao tribulation is, it will only come once an epoch, right? Moreover, Brother Shursan will have to endure the God-destroying tribulation after an epoch. What's there to worry about? Tianyu said. Cough cough. Tianyu, take it easy. However, what you said is reasonable. Longjin glanced at Tianyu because Tianyu's words were too direct. Haha, I've been enlightened. In any case, I'll have to endure the God-destroying tribulation after an epoch. Some of the tribulations won't come until I reach an epoch's lifespan. If I want to cultivate, I'll cultivate, Knight Sorrow said after pondering for a moment after hearing Tianyu's words. He understood that sometimes things were very simple, but the more he thought about it, the more complicated it became. Brother Shursan, are you really going to cultivate? If something happens, Nianxia will strangle me to death. Seeing that Knight Sorrow had made his decision, Tianyu was somewhat regretful. He was also afraid that something would happen to Knight Sorrow. It's too late to regret now. If you want your days to be peaceful, then pray for me. Knight Sorrow smiled and raised his jug of wine towards Longjin and Tianyu. The 3 drank and chatted. Soon they mentioned Mo Yutian. Samsara Island's defenses are so tight. Where did Mo Yutian go? There hasn't been any news about him. Longjin muttered. Most of the areas on Samsara Island have stone trees and void purple light snakes. How can there be empty areas? If you were Mo Yutian, where would you go to find a place to do something? Knight Sorrow asked. We won't consider ordinary areas because the Celestial Realm's Heaven Wasteland Army and void purple light snakes can find them. If we want to look, we'll look for areas that are difficult for soldiers to detect, and that the void purple light snakes won't pay attention to. For example, the caves on Demon Mountain. As for the specific location, it's hard to say. Longjin said. Dangerous areas. Knight Sorrow muttered. He stood up and paced back and forth in thought. Broken Sky Mountain. Knight Sorrow turned around. The 3 of them said the same place almost simultaneously. The more dangerous the place, the safer it is. Broken Sky Mountain is an empty area that we've explored so far. The Heaven Wasteland Army can't enter it. The Void Purple Light Snakes didn't go there before. Now that they're exploring other areas, they won't pay attention to that area. Night Sorrow was a little excited because this was definitely the right guess. Then Night Sorrow told Little Z to let the Void Purple Light Snakes search the area of Broken Sky Mountain. V'd look at Question Edition plus see Chapter 1. Q above. After making the arrangements, the three brothers began to drink. Night Sorrow was not in a hurry, because a large formation that could stabilize and guard the void could not be set up in a short time. Then, the three brothers went to the campsite of the god-slaying squad and drank, and chatted with dozens of brothers. What made him so happy? Qin Qianjia came to the Grand Elder and asked. He's too young and confused. Maybe he figured out something, the Grand Elder said. The soldiers of the First Army were not willing to see Night Sorrow, and the members of the god-slaying squad drinking and chatting. Flower Without Words, by Lingling Zhuodong, and the others came directly to them. Commander, are you serious? We're all your brothers. Why are you drinking and watching us? Haha, you're thinking too much. Brothers, take out your inventory. We're not going home until we're drunk. Night Sorrow laughed and shouted at the members of the god-slaying squad. The soldiers of the First Army and the members of the god-slaying squad were drinking. The other two armies of the Heaven Wasteland Army were very envious. In the Heaven Wasteland Army, only the First Army was allowed to drink. Chapter 2021. Now that the First Army's soldiers are full of vigor and battle intent, it seems like we need to give them more burdens. The 100 races of the celestial realm lack such vigor and vigor. The Grand Elder shared his thoughts. There's no problem with his ability. His actual combat strength has already surpassed some of the elders. However, he's too young. When others think of him, their first impression is that he's young and talented. Will there be voices of doubt? Qin Qianjia voiced his concerns. No. Apart from the initial impression, if you think about his experiences after he made his debut, his contributions to the celestial realm have already surpassed some of the elders, and even the law-enforcing elders. Retrieving the remains of the human sovereign, and obtaining the desolate war halberd. Any one of these things has a huge impact on the 100 races of the celestial realm. The Grand Elder shook his head. During the peaceful days, Night Sorrow was waiting for news. 1 month later, Little Purple told Night Sorrow that 2 Void Purple Light Snakes had disappeared after sending out signals. They were killed after discovering the target. Night Sorrow asked Little Purple to confirm the location. He knew that the Void Purple Light Snakes could kill, and even threaten Emperor Realm cultivators. However, it was normal for them to be killed when facing an expert like Mo Yutian. This time, Night Sorrow didn't plan to act alone. It wasn't easy to track down Mo Yutian. He wanted to tell the Grand Elder about this, and see if the Grand Elder had any opinions. Moreover, he would be courting death if he led the team alone. Great. It wasn't easy to track them down. This time we have to plan. We'll cripple them in one go and solve the root problem of the reincarnation island once and for all. The Grand Elder tapped the ground with his coiling dragon spear. Then I'll go gather the men and wait for the Grand Elder's instructions. Night Sorrow went to the campsite and gathered the members of the First Army and the God-slaying team. Grand Elder and Qin Qianjia also arrived at Night Sorrow's campsite. Yishang, you'll be in charge again this time. You'll have to lead the team. Mo Yutian has a way to hide himself, but I don't. I want to enter your spatial treasure. Take me there, said the Great Elder. All right. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that this was a sign of trust. The Grand Elder had his own spatial magic treasure, but he didn't say anything about entering his own spatial magic treasure. But entering his spatial magic treasure was a sign of incomparable trust. The same goes for me. I'll follow your arrangements. Qin Qianjia also had the same attitude. Night Sorrow brought out the 8-dragon cauldron and placed it beside him. Next, his soul power surged and sent the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-slaying team into the 8-dragon cauldron. Good job. The Grand Elder gave Night Sorrow a thumbs up. It was the ability of a commander to make everyone in the team trust him without the slightest bit of doubt. The Grand Elder knew that he couldn't do this. No commander in the Heaven Wasteland army could do this. Qin Qianjie's eyes were also full of admiration. Not to mention his ability, this was a display of his personal charm. Then I'll have to trouble you two elders. Night Sorrow's soul power wrapped around the Grand Elder and Qin Qianjie, and sent them into the 8-dragon cauldron as well. However, the three of them were stunned because they didn't succeed. Haha, you have to take this first. Your spatial magic treasure can't fit it. The Grand Elder took out a cyan ball and sent the coiling dragon spear into it. Then he handed it to Night Sorrow. The cyan ball was his spatial mini-world, and its level was very high. Qin Qianjie also smiled awkwardly. He took out a treasure that looked like a jade slip and put the weapon into it. Then he handed the jade slip to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow also understood what was going on. It wasn't that the Grand Elder and Qin Qianjie were resisting, but that the two of them had treasures that were of a higher level than his 8-dragon cauldron. Night Sorrow knew that this was normal. The Grand Elder and Qin Qianjie had cultivated for countless years. To have their current achievements, their luck was also amazing. It was reasonable for them to have obtained some heaven-defying treasures. After putting the treasures of the Grand Elder and Qin Qianjie into his belt, Night Sorrow looked at the two of them. Grand Elder, Elder Qin, after leaving my 8-dragon cauldron, you can take back your treasures yourselves. Then Night Sorrow sent the Grand Elder and Qin Qianjie into the 8-dragon cauldron. Then, under Little Purple's guidance, they began to fly. At this moment, Night Sorrow couldn't enter the 8-dragon cauldron by himself. With his time and space attribute at the peak Emperor rank, Night Sorrow's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he was thousands of miles away. Night Sorrow told Little Purple to determine the approximate area. He had to plan ahead. Mo Yutian was too strong and could easily be detected. In this operation, Night Sorrow didn't just want to destroy the foundation of Mo Yutian's array. He also wanted to heavily injure his team. The people that came this time were on a completely different level compared to the last time. When they were still a distance away, Little Purple told Night Sorrow the approximate area because another Void Purple Light Snake was killed. Enter the chaotic streams of the void. We are getting closer. He should be alerted. After Night Sorrow finished speaking to Little Purple, he waved the blood-chilling evil punishing spear and broke open the spatial barrier. Then he brought Little Purple in and quickly flew. As they got closer to the target area, Night Sorrow also informed the Grand Elder and Qin Qianjie inside the 8-dragon cauldron to prepare for battle. Night Sorrow increased his speed. He knew that at the final distance, they would definitely be discovered by Mo Yutian. The faster, the better. He didn't want to give Mo Yutian any time to react. The Grand Elder and Qin Qianjie were also highly focused because the battle could happen at any moment. Broken Sky Mountain Range was undulating. In a relatively flat area not far from where Ancestor Mo fell, Mo Yutian set up another array foundation. After inspecting it, he let out a breath. At this moment, he frowned because he realized that the Grand Elder's sensing ability had disappeared. This was very abnormal. This meant that the Grand Elder had either left Reincarnation Island or used a special secret technique to hide. Why was he hiding? Obviously, he was targeting Mo Yutian. Mo Yutian fell into deep thought. He had already stayed here with his people for a long time. The defensive array had already begun to take shape. After a while, it would be ready to be used. If he retreated now, all his efforts would be wasted. However, if he didn't retreat, there would be risks. It wasn't just the disappearance of the Grand Elder's sensing ability that made Mo Yutian vigilant. He had already killed 3 Void Purple Light Snakes. The Void Purple Light Snakes were the spies of the people of the Celestial Realm. Mo Yutian knew this because when he attacked Night Sorrow last time, he knew about the existence of the Void Purple Light Snake King, Little Purple. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Just as Mo Yutian was hesitating between retreating or continuing, Night Sorrow and the others arrived. While Mo Yutian was looking at the void, Night Sorrow's soul trembled in the chaotic streams of space, transferring the Grand Elder and Qin Qianjie out of the 8-dragon cauldron. Chapter 2022. As soon as the Grand Elder appeared, He charged towards Yutianmo while his doppelganger charged towards the Xiang Dragon. Qin Qianjia's target was Zhiyuan. Among Yutianmo's team, the strongest were Yutianmo, Xiang Dragon and Zhiyuan. Night Sorrow also appeared. He casually summoned the members of the First Army and God-slaying team out of the 8-Dragon Cauldron and said, "Get into formation and fight. Don't let anyone escape." The First Army and God-slaying team had an absolute advantage in terms of numbers. They also had enough people to fight in formation. Lin Yin led a team to chase after Yutianmo while Long Jin, Zhuodong and the rest led a team to surround and kill the Emperor of the Demon-Winged Race. Little Purple, watch carefully, support wherever there is danger. Gather all the void purple light snakes nearby and kill any that escape. Night Sorrow instructed Little Purple before he charged towards the Xiang Dragon. At this moment, in a battle between experts, the easiest outcome would be the Grand Elder's doppelganger attacking the Xiang Dragon. The Grand Elder was one of the 3 giants of the Celestial Realm's 100 Races Alliance. Although there might be a gap between him and the Tianhuang City Lord and King Yewu, it was not that big of a gap. He had lived for 8 eras and was at least an 8 sovereign tribulation expert. The Xiang Dragon was completely incomparable to the Grand Elder. Xiang Dragon's main body was dodging and defending. He did not engage in battle, while his doppelganger attacked the Grand Elder. Night Sorrow's first attack was a soul attack. He wanted to assist the Grand Elder in killing the Xiang Dragon. Although he could not tell the cultivation level of the Grand Elder and Yutianmo, Night Sorrow could tell that the Grand Elder was at a disadvantage. If the Xiang Dragon was killed, the Grand Elder's main body and doppelganger would fuse together, and the battle would be different. Night Sorrow's soul-extinguishing slash was now extremely powerful and fast. It could even ignore energy defenses. No matter how strong the Xiang Dragon's protective chi shield and territory were, it could not stop the soul-extinguishing slash from invading. The crescent moon blade of the soul-extinguishing slash spun around the divine sea of the Xiang Dragon's true body, slicing away at the soul energy of the Xiang Dragon, allowing the illusions to be transmitted into the divine sea. This had a huge impact on the Xiang Dragon. Moments later, the Grand Elder's long spear pierced a hole through its body, and one of its left arms was blown off. Following that, the Grand Elder unleashed a violent spear strike. It was the ultimate spear art that he had been researching for many years. The space around the Xiang Dragon was sealed, and the Xiang Dragon felt like it was trapped in a quagmire. In a moment of panic, the Xiang Dragon's clone blocked the path of the Grand Elder's spear. With a muffled sound, the Grand Elder's spear pierced through the Xiang Dragon's incarnation, shattering it into pieces and turning it into a bloody mist. The energy trembled violently, and the effect of the Grand Elder's space confinement disappeared. The Xiang Dragon then charged towards Night Sorrow, as Night Sorrow's soul attack had greatly troubled him. Seeing the Xiang Dragon charging towards him, Night Sorrow immediately used the Void Steps and the Space-Time Realm to evade the attack. He was no match for the Xiang Dragon, and he did not want to go head-to-head with the Xiang Dragon. The Grand Elder was initially worried that the Xiang Dragon would ignore his attacks and go all out to kill Night Sorrow. But when he saw Night Sorrow using his body movement and defensive arts, he was relieved. He could tell that Night Sorrow's ultimate art was very powerful, and this tactic was the most appropriate one. The battle continued fiercely, and the Devil-Winged Race's members were getting fewer and fewer. They were separated by the First Army's soldiers and the God-slaying squad. In the battle between Qin Qianjia and Zhiyuan, Qin Qianjia was at a disadvantage, as Zhiyuan's attacks were suppressed by Zhiyuan. The difference between the two was not small. Zhiyuan was much stronger than Qin Qianjia, but it would be difficult for him to defeat and kill Qin Qianjia quickly. This was because Qin Qianjia had a secret art that allowed him to teleport close to the main body and provide support to the main body. The clone could also avoid certain dangers. Night Sorrow was dodging and defending, but he was constantly using his soul attack. Under such circumstances, the Xiang Dragon could not withstand it. After blocking 2 of the Grand Elder's spear attacks, he was severely injured and was killed by the Grand Elder's 3rd spear attack. Seeing the Xiang Dragon killed, Mo Yutian's expression changed. His body flashed, and he kept Mo Lu, who was being attacked by Lin Yin and the others. Then, he rushed towards Yuan. He knew that he could not win, so he planned to gather some members and leave. Mo Lu was one of the core members of the devil-winged race, so Mo Yutian had to save him. In addition, he also knew that he had to leave after this battle. After he released all of his energy, the devil-winged race's wheel of life and death was no longer effective. More importantly, he was on the reincarnation island, where the Grand Elder could find him. After Mo Lu was put away, the Grand Elder was furious. He attacked Mo Yutian together with his clone, not giving Mo Yutian a chance to get close to the others. At the same time, Mo Yutian was also at a disadvantage. He could not withstand the combined attacks of the Grand Elder and his clone. Remember, the next time I see you, I will take your life. Mo Yutian, who was hit by the Grand Elder's spear, roared at the Grand Elder. Then he flashed and left. It was meaningless for him to continue fighting. The Grand Elder and his clone were here to suppress him. If he continued fighting, he would be in danger. Mo Yutian could not fight anymore, but if he wanted to leave, he could still escape. As long as he got rid of the Grand Elder, it would be enough. The speed of the Grand Elder and his clone could not be stacked. Mo Yutian left, and the Grand Elder could not stop him. However, the other members of the devil-winged race were not so lucky. They were surrounded and killed by the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-slaying team. As for the other expert of the devil-winged race, Zhi Yuan, he could not escape either. He had been entangled by Qin Qianjia, and he could not kill Qin Qianjia. Now that the Grand Elder was free, only death awaited him. After the battle, Knight Sorrow ordered the cleanup of the battlefield. 8 permanent *6 exempt. 2 fee /e read novel /e he ran away in the end. Knight Sorrow said as he looked in the direction Mo Yutian had left. If he doesn't fight to the death, it won't be easy to kill him. I already knew this. This time it will be enough to force him away. Only the city lord and your martial uncle can kill him. I'm still a little lacking, the Grand Elder said. Let's destroy these array bases. Qin Qianjia said. There's no need for that. It's good for us to have one more stronghold. Later, we will set up the array according to our array. It will be a grand array that we will be in charge of. It won't be easy for the devil-winged race to break in. Knight Sorrow said after thinking for a while. The Grand Elder nodded. He also supported Knight Sorrow's idea. In the coming years, the 100 races of the Celestial Realm would rule the Reincarnation Island. Next, Knight Sorrow set up the array. Although Mo Yutian had cleared the area with his men, it would still take some time to set up the Grand Array. 2 days later, the Grand Elder told Knight Sorrow a piece of news. Mo Yutian's aura had disappeared, which meant that he had left the Reincarnation Island. Chapter 2023. Knight Sorrow felt that it was inappropriate, but he didn't say anything. It was not his place to talk about the Elder's rights and wrongs. The Grand Elder came to Knight Sorrow and asked, "What are you thinking about?" "Nothing." Knight Sorrow shook his head. "The timing is not good this time. There is no possibility of keeping him. Your uncle returned to the Yawa Royal Mountain to cultivate the soul unification, so he can't fight. The mayor is busy with other things and has no time to come," the Grand Elder said to Knight Sorrow. After cultivating for so many years, he could see Knight Sorrow's doubts even if Knight Sorrow didn't ask. "I'm sorry. Knight Sorrow shouldn't have thought too much. I shouldn't have questioned the decisions of the elders," Knight Sorrow said apologetically. "Haha. I'm glad that you saw it. There's nothing that can't be said about right and wrong. In fact, the result this time is very good. The leader of the dragon-headed people and the leader of the snake-headed people are powerful. In the war, there are not many people in the celestial realm who can restrain them. They will cause a lot of damage. It's good that we got rid of them," the Grand Elder said with a smile. "Uncle and Lord Tranhung are both busy. There's nothing we can do about it." Knight Sorrow knew that King Yawa was busy, but he didn't know that the mayor was also busy. The Grand Elder exhaled and said, "The mayor is under a lot of pressure." Then the Grand Elder told Knight Sorrow some unknown things. He didn't hide it from Knight Sorrow. The 100 races of the Celestial Realm, and the Demon Wing race of the Deserted World, had been fighting for the right to rule the Celestial Realm. This was the biggest conflict and contradiction. In addition to the Demon Wing race of the Deserted World, There were also some space worlds and races that wanted to rule. These space worlds were called extraterrestrial worlds, and they were also very powerful. Now the mayor was going to negotiate with these extraterrestrial worlds. If they could reach an agreement, then there would be nothing to say. If they couldn't, then there would be war. Strong enough to threaten the 100 tribes of the celestial realm? Night Sorrow asked. Yes, they also appeared at the end of the previous cycle. Some of the masters of the 100 clans of the celestial realm fell at their hands. Therefore, the mayor didn't intend to give them a chance to jump around this time. Either we can talk about peaceful coexistence in the future, or we can't talk about it. If they have the intention to fight for hegemony, then we have to deal with them before the decisive battle with the Demon Wing clan. However, it's hard to say whether we can dig them all out. This matter is very difficult. The Grand Elder said. Night Sorrow didn't ask any more questions, because he realized that there were too many things he didn't know. The construction of the stronghold went smoothly. After the construction of the stronghold was completed, Night Sorrow calmed down. Without the demon-winged clan on Samsara Island, the void purple light snakes did not attack the practitioners of the celestial realm. Therefore, the teams that went out to train were not in great danger. In addition, the environment of Samsara Island was harsh and the will of heaven and earth was strong. It was suitable for cultivation. The Grand Elder's original body and Qin Qianjie returned to the heavenly wasteland city. He directly held a meeting of the elders and reported to them what had happened on Samsara Island. Well done, Emperor Tang said excitedly. Not only well done, but also very domineering, Qin Qianjie said with a smile. Face. Night Sorrow's matter made the elders of the human race feel very proud. The topic revolved around Night Sorrow. Everyone was chatting about what had happened after Night Sorrow's debut. I think the spirit of his subordinates is very good. They have an indomitable spirit. The Heavenly Wasteland Army and even the Heavenly Wasteland City need this kind of spirit. I think it's more appropriate to put the 3 territories of Samsara Island under his command and let him lead them. Give them some time, and they will become a stronger force, the Grand Elder said. In fact, Qin Qianjie's concerns were unnecessary. None of the elders objected. They all supported the idea. I was worried that you would be short-sighted and object. It seems that you are all very far-sighted, Qin Qianjie said. Forever G** read for free for a long time. Night Sorrow is the human emperor of the human race. Everyone trusts his character. His cultivation speed is also unprecedented. At least in the history books, there are no records of anyone surpassing him. Such a person should be responsible. What's there to object? By Zhejian of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan, who had not been in the Heavenly Wasteland City before and had recently become a resident, said. In fact, he is a person of virtue and prestige. It's just that he is too young, so it's a bit abrupt to use this word. In fact, being a person of virtue and prestige has nothing to do with being young. Tiger Cold's ancestor, the Tiger Clan Elder of the Council of Elders, said. It's still not easy to arrange. Our Heavenly Wasteland City is organized into captains, commanders, elders, and law enforcement elders. He is too young to be an elder, and it's a waste of his talent to be a commander, the Grand Elder said. In fact, he is the human emperor of the human race. Does he need commanders and elders to establish his position? He doesn't need them at all, Xiao Jun said. Indeed, he doesn't need them. But Commander Xiao, are you afraid? At that time, our leader was exiled to death, and today's situation wouldn't have happened. Who could control the void purple light snake and prevent the Demon Wing clan from landing on the Samsara Island? We really can't defend the Samsara Island, Pu Luo said. In fact, there's nothing to be afraid of. The city lord said that he would come back safely from the heavenly wasteland after the prediction of the great prophecy technique. Pu Luo Night Sorrow didn't care about this matter, but you can't forget it. Is it interesting? Xiao Jun glanced at Pu Luo and said. He felt guilty about Night Sorrow, but he did not regret it. Haha. It's not that I can't forget it. It's just a joke. Commander Xiao, don't you know me well? Pu Luo said with a smile. The Human Dao Alliance is doing well. I'm very envious of you. The Human Dao Alliance has been going through a lot these past few years. I'm sure I'm not the only one envious, everyone else is, said Xiaojun. Some are envious, some are worried about being photographed, and some are even cursing. But I believe most of them are envious, Pu Luo said. He was a founding member of the Humanitarian League, and he was proud of it. That's because I'm old. I'll be laughed at if I go crazy with you. Otherwise, I'll try to join the Humanitarian League to punish evil and promote good, Qin Qianjie said with a smile. After the emergence of the Humanitarian League, all the forces in the celestial realm have become very self-disciplined. The atmosphere in the celestial realm has changed again. Everyone has to admit that this is a matter of great merit, Xiaojun said. Xiaojun's words received everyone's approval. Elder Xiao, let me ask you something. You have a deep grudge against Night Sorrow. Aren't you worried about being photographed? Even Yu Kuan was killed, Qin Qianjie said. I've never worried about this problem. Elder Qin, don't compare me with that traitor Yu Kuan. I've done some things wrong in the past, but I dare to say that I did it for the sake of the 100 tribes in the celestial realm. I dare to say that I have a clear conscience. Under such circumstances, how can the Humanitarian League, which punishes evil and promotes good, take revenge on me? Is there any justice in this world? Xiaojun said. That's reasonable. Let's not talk about the way you do things. From the perspective of your starting point and standpoint, you really don't need to worry about these things. Emperor Tang nodded. He had a good personal relationship with Xiaojun. Chapter 2024. When the Grand Elder arrived at the Heaven Wasteland Tower, the Golden Dragon King arrived with the dragons as well. Grand Elder, some of the dragons' problems have been solved. This king brought them all here because it's a critical time. The Golden Dragon King cupped his hands at the Grand Elder. The dragons behind him also bowed at the Grand Elder. In a few years, the dragons and the 100 races of the celestial realm might have some misunderstandings. However, it's not a big deal. When the time comes, we still have to fight side by side. The Grand Elder said. After that, the Grand Elder arranged for the dragons to be stationed in the Heaven Wasteland City. He then brought the Golden Dragon King, the Azure Dragon King, and the Black Dragons into the Heaven Wasteland Tower, and continued the meeting. The Grand Elder first told the Golden Dragon King about the Reincarnation Island, and some arrangements. Night Sorrow is a good boy. This king can rest assured with dragon gold and dragon language by his side. The Golden Dragon King said. I plan to let him be in charge of the entire Reincarnation Island. However, my doppelganger or your doppelganger, Golden Dragon King, must be stationed there. I'm worried that the Demon-Winged clan won't give up on the Reincarnation Island. The Grand Elder said. I've heard the name Night Sorrow many times. However, he's too young. Can he be in charge of the entire Reincarnation Island? The Azure Dragon King said. The Azure Dragon King was the strongest among the dragons other than the Golden Dragon King. However, he had suffered a loss at the hands of the Heaven Wasteland City's mayor, so he rarely came to the Heaven Wasteland City. This time, he was forcefully dragged here by the Golden Dragon King. He's very steady and is very good at strategy and tactics. He's currently the leader of a force. It won't be a problem for him to be in charge of the entire Reincarnation Island. The Grand Elder said. Since the Grand Elder said so, I will naturally believe him. The Azure Dragon King nodded. It's really not a problem. Mo Yutian and Mo Tianji of the Demon Wing clan have fought with him before, but they were always at a disadvantage in terms of momentum and results. You all know the two giants of the Demon Realm clan. It's hard to not suffer a loss in their hands, let alone gain the upper hand, the Grand Elder said. The Grand Elder has a lot of things to do. I'll go to Reincarnation Island and see how those little guys are doing. You haven't seen Yi Xing before. He's really something, the Golden Dragon King said. Night Sorrow's original body was cultivating while his doppelganger had nothing to do. Therefore, he guided the members of the First Army and the God-slaying team in their cultivation. Night Sorrow was very strict. The members of the God-slaying squad were very afraid of Night Sorrow during training and cultivation, including Yin Yanxiao. The Grand Elder led a group of elders from the Council of Elders and the members of the dragons to the stronghold of the Demon Mountain. After another teleportation, They arrived at the new stronghold of the Broken Mountain. All of you cultivate the new joint attack formation well. If you don't, you can't stop. Drink water? Drink tea? Endure it. Knight Sorrow roared at the members of the First Army and the God-slaying squad who were cultivating the new joint attack formation. What's going on? Why are you all so angry? The Grand Elder led the group to the camping ground. This isn't the first time the First Army and the God-slaying squad have fought with the Demon Wing clan. They've even fought in front of Mo Yutian. They've definitely studied the joint attack formations they used in the past. Therefore, it's very necessary to cultivate the new joint attack formation. However, this group of idiots still can't comprehend the new joint attack formation I've just researched. This makes me very anxious because no one knows when the next war will break out. The more we sweat now, the less we bleed during the war. This will increase our chances of survival, Knight Sorrow said. Very good, that's how it should be. Boys, work hard. Learn from your commanders. The Golden Dragon King laughed and then kicked Long Jean. Can you be any more stupid? Even an idiot can see that. Uncle, you're an expert in formations. Are you an idiot? Long Jean was a little depressed. He really wasn't good at formations. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Knight Sorrow invited the group into the tent and brewed a pot of tea. I've seen the First Army before. They weren't so strong back then, but they're doing very well now, the Azure Dragon King said. The Grand Elder told Knight Sorrow about the Assembly of Elders plan. They intended to let Knight Sorrow be in charge of Reincarnation Island, and the Heaven Wasteland Army on Reincarnation Island would be under his command. Grand Elder, Knight Sorrow is young and not suitable to manage the Heaven Wasteland Army. It's good enough that he can lead the First Army. However, Grand Elder, don't worry, I'll do my job well and fulfill my responsibilities. Knight Sorrow didn't consider and directly refused. Power represented responsibility. Knight Sorrow felt that it was not suitable for him to do some things now. It was more important for him to improve his cultivation as soon as possible. Others can't even ask for such a thing. I want to recommend you to the Assembly of Elders, but your cultivation is currently the most important thing. You don't have time to manage these things, so there's no such arrangement. However, it won't be a problem for you to manage the Third Army. They all have their own commanders. You just have to give them some instructions, the Grand Elder said. Knight Sorrow didn't say anything. He really didn't want to accept such a thing. He really didn't want to. Kid, hurry up and accept it. If the human emperor doesn't take up the responsibility, who will? Don't worry and do it boldly. This king will stay here from now on. If anyone is dissatisfied or disobedient, this king will slap them, the Golden Dragon King said. Yes, everyone believes in you. Qin Qianjie also said. However, I have some things to say to the Third Army. Okay, I'll do my best. If not, it'll be the same as before. After looking at the elders in the tent, Knight Sorrow didn't refuse anymore. He had to give face to these elders, and he couldn't embarrass the Golden Dragon King. Emperor Tang brought the Heaven Wasteland Army of the Demon Mountain stronghold over and gathered with the Heaven Wasteland Army of Broken Mountain. The Grand Elder brought the elders and Knight Sorrow to the front of the army. Today I have some things to announce. From now on, Knight Sorrow will be in charge of the Samsara Island. The Third Army will be under Knight Sorrow's command, the Grand Elder announced. Then Qin Qianjie took out Knight Sorrow's leg. Then I'll say a few words. Whether it's good or bad, don't mind it. Knight Sorrow exhaled and said, the people under my command are actually my brothers and sisters. If you want me to treat you as my brothers and sisters, I can't honestly say that I can't do it. If I lead you, I'll first follow orders and prohibitions. Before a decision is made, everyone can discuss it. Once a decision is made, it must be carried out. Knight Sorrow said to the Third Army of the Heaven Wasteland Army. Understood. The Third Army of the Heaven Wasteland Army replied. To be able to answer with the word understood before I made any other promises, that's very rare. Knight Sorrow is very gratified, and I thank you for your trust. As a human and a member of the Celestial Realm's 100 races, I, Knight Sorrow, will do what I have to do. When I said that the First Army and the God-slaying squad are my brothers, I meant it from the bottom of my heart. In war, I, Knight Sorrow, will treat everyone equally. The first army will be treated the same as the third army. Knight Sorrow made his promise as a leader. Chapter 2025. Of course you can, but I'll say this first. If you want to cultivate, you should cultivate until you're good at it. Don't cultivate until you're half-baked. If you go out and expose your secret, you might even lose your life, Knight Sorrow said. After hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the three commanders knocked their weapons on their breastplates to acknowledge the order. They knew that there was a huge gap between them and the first army. They also knew that there was originally a gap, but it was not as obvious as it was now. After Knight Sorrow appeared, the first army had undergone earth-shattering changes. None of the three commanders in the Heaven Wasteland army could fight against the first army. Even if they joined forces, the three commanders did not have the confidence to fight against the first army. If everyone has no problem, then I, Knight Sorrow, will naturally have no problem. Grand Elder, I'll take this job. Knight Sorrow turned to the Grand Elder and nodded. The Grand Elder nodded and then returned to the tent with the Golden Dragon King and the others. He conveyed the order. Knight Sorrow had successfully taken over, so he did not have to worry about the rest. Back then, when Knight Sorrow took over the first army, he was worried. Today, Knight Sorrow took over the three commanders, so he was very relieved. The first army will have 11 teams. The first and 11th teams will each guard 2 stations. The other 9 teams will be divided into 3 groups and temporarily be incorporated into the 3 commanders. They will cultivate the formation and attack together. I'll give you half a year. If you can't satisfy me in half a year, scram back to the Heaven Wasteland City. You're not soldiers under my command, Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow shouted to the Heaven Wasteland army in front of him, and then left. Some things could be left as long as he passed them on. As for why he did not assign the God-slaying team a task, Knight Sorrow had thought about it. The God-slaying team was friends with the soldiers of the first army. They had fought together and received recognition, but they did not have much interaction with the 3 commanders. He was worried that they would not be recognized because of the difference in their cultivation. Knight Sorrow went to the big tent of the camp to report to the Grand Elder and the other elders. I told you, you brat, you don't have any problems. You're still trying to push me around. Anyone would want this opportunity. Being powerful is a symbol of strength, and having a lot of people under your command is also a symbol of strength. If you have a few Heaven Wasteland army under your command, you can just flatten the entire family of whoever dares to mess with you, the Golden Dragon King said. Ahem. Knight Sorrow is the virtuous king. You can't teach him that. I don't know if it's right for you to stay on Reincarnation Island with Knight Sorrow, the Grand Elder said as he looked at the Golden Dragon King. It's the same whether he stays on Samsara Island or not. For the sake of the dragon language, he has no complaints about being banished to Heaven Wasteland. Acknowledging the dragon language as his sister and letting the dragon language marry grandly without suffering any grievances is giving us, the dragon's face. Our dragon race will always remember the kindness of others. Besides, who is the dragon language? I'm the crown princess of the Golden Dragon clan, the princess of the Black Dragons. He is Long Jin's brother, which means he is this king's nephew. Therefore, Grand Elder, you also understand some things, the Golden Dragon King said. Commander Knight, I am the Black Dragons, Long Feishua. If you need anything, the Black Dragons will definitely be there, the Black Dragon Great Elder said. Thank you for your kindness, seniors. Long Jin and Long Yu. We've fought side by side, and we've been through life and death together. Taking care of them is what I should do. Yishang cupped his hands toward the Golden Dragon King and Long Feishua. Generous. Grand Elder, you don't have to say. Even the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City isn't as generous. He has always put the interests of the human race first. He won't even let us be on the celestial demon list, Long Yixing said. Last time, he was taught a lesson by the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City. Long Yixing was very resentful. Knight Sorrow smiled. He also agreed with what Long Yixing said. Last time, when the Black Phoenix clan leader made a scene, the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City, Tran Hung, said that regardless of the overall situation of the celestial realm, he was a human. It was obvious that the interests of the human race were the most important. Why are you guys involved in the celestial demon list of the human race? If you have an idea, why don't you suggest to the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City to create an emperor list of the 100 Races Alliance? The Grand Elder glanced at Long Yixing. That's a good idea. Fame is the motivation of all cultivators. Who doesn't want to be famous? This king will discuss this matter with the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City later. The Golden Dragon King was more supportive of the Grand Elder's idea. The other elders of the 100 races also nodded. Only with competition would there be motivation. Yixing, Feishue, the natural environment of the Reincarnation Island is quite harsh, but it is also a good place to improve one's cultivation. In the future, when the descendants of the dragons become emperors, they will have to come to the Reincarnation Island to train for a few years. You guys decide the time. The Reincarnation battlefield will become the Reincarnation Island. The Celestial Realm will take this territory. The dragons will take it. The Golden Dragon King said to the Azure Dragon King and the Black Dragons. After chatting for a while, the Grand Elder left with the other elders. The Heaven Wasteland City needed to be guarded. They could not afford to be empty. After Long Yixing and Long Feishue arranged for their subordinates to deliver some news, the two of them also stayed on the Reincarnation Island. The people of the 3 divisions, the soldiers of the First Army, and the members of the God-slaying team were all cultivating hard every day. They were cultivating the new joint attack formation that Knight Sorrow had created based on his years of experience in the art of formations. Yishan also went to check. When he saw idiots, he would really scold them. He even used the Bloodchilan evil punishing spear's shaft to whip them. They were whipped until they didn't make a sound. This was because they knew this step was to increase their strength and increase their chances of survival. Listen up, you are all born and raised by your parents. You are all the treasures of your parents. Living well means being filial to your parents and elders. Living well means being filial to your parents. Living well means being filial to your parents. Living well means being responsible to your parents. Living well means being responsible to your parents. If you can't cultivate well in half a year, you are not suitable to fight under my command. Scram back to where you came from. After walking around the arena, Knight Sorrow scolded. Never be a scum. Never be a deserter. Never be a coward. The people of the 3 divisions responded to Knight Sorrow with angry roars. This kid is really good at deceiving people. In the main tent of the base, Long Yixing said to the Golden Dragon King. Nice words don't mean anything when they come out of your mouth. It has been a few eras, and the mayor of the city hasn't made anyone feel bad. Why is it that he doesn't like you? You should learn how to talk in the future. Knight Sorrow is not trying to deceive people. He is trying to understand what they care about. He is trying to put himself in their shoes. Do you understand? The Golden Dragon King threw a glare at Long Yixing. Long Yixing was slapped by the mayor of the city, and Golden Dragon King was not happy about it either. He felt embarrassed, but Long Yixing was really not a good person. Be unspecified currency Yongjio said. You are the leader of the dragons. You call the shots. Long Yixing turned around and looked to the side. Don't you know what you need to do right now? The Golden Dragon clan has Long Jin, who is close to Knight Sorrow. The dragon language of the Black Dragons and Knight Sorrow are siblings. What about the Blue Dragons? He is the most dazzling human emperor in the past few eras. Why don't you build a good relationship with him? Are you stupid? The Golden Dragon King looked at Long Yixing and said angrily. Then I'll arrange a few good seedlings from the Azure Dragon tribe to stay by his side right now. Long Yixing immediately came to a realization after hearing the Golden Dragon King's words. Hurry up and do it. Also, you don't know the ways of the world. Just remember one thing. Whoever he doesn't like, you don't like them. Whoever he curses, you beat them. That's right. The Golden Dragon King said. Chapter 2026. Qin Qianjia felt a bit lucky. The Golden Dragon King had asked Long Yixing to ride on Knight Sorrow's coattails. If Long Yixing were to ride on someone else's coattails, the whole world would be in chaos. Long Yixing was famous for his coattails. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had a conflict with the city lord. He only listened to the Golden Dragon King, Longbatian. After thinking for a while, Qin Qianjie realized that Night Sorrow's strength was terrifying. Among the 100 races in the celestial realm, perhaps only the 3 giants could compete with him. In the celestial realm, other than the human race, the most powerful races were the mythical beasts. First, the dragons. If Night Sorrow was in trouble, the Golden Dragon King would definitely support him, and so would the Black and Cyan dragons. Secondly, the Bloodscale race. Chirue's family owed Night Sorrow a favor, and they were friends with Night Sorrow. If anyone messed with Night Sorrow, they would definitely stand on his side. The Cyan Rock race was the same. They were also friends with Night Sorrow. The descendants of the Nine-Tailed Fox race were all under Night Sorrow's command. If something really happened, the Nine-Tailed Fox race wouldn't hesitate to help. The situation between Night Sorrow and the Ice Phoenix race wasn't clear, but everyone knew that the new Ice Phoenix race empress was close to Night Sorrow. They weren't blood relatives, but they were closer than blood relatives. Qin Qianjie knew about Wu Lingfei's situation in Star Moon City. The real giant of the Ice Phoenix race would solve this problem when they showed up. From a human's point of view, they wouldn't have any conflict with Night Sorrow. In the end, their relationship would be harmonious. The mythical beasts were powerful, and they were Night Sorrow's solid allies. However, they weren't Night Sorrow's strongest ally. Night Sorrow's strongest ally was the Divine Capital, one of the 2 cities in the Celestial Realm. Night Sorrow was the heir of the Divine Capital. Everyone in the Celestial Realm knew this. In addition, Night Sorrow had Star Moon City, the Chaos Realm, and the Humanitarian League. The Humanitarian League was a combination of several major forces. Its strength was recognized in the Celestial Realm. Look at the original unspecified currency, version chapter OU1 the general trend is set. He has accumulated such a strong foundation. Scary. After pondering for a while, Qin Qianjie muttered to himself. There were some things that he wouldn't feel if he didn't think about it. However, when he thought about it, he discovered some shocking information. With the Golden Dragon King's words, Long Yixing and Night Sorrow became much more enthusiastic. They often chatted with Night Sorrow about useful things. While Night Sorrow was a little puzzled, the Azure Dragons brought a few young juniors. They were 3 celestial emperors. Commander Knight, your subordinates are all elites. These guys are also elites. Can you take them in and let them work for the 100 races in the Celestial Realm? Long Yixing brought the Azure Dragon's elites to Night Sorrow's tent. Sure enough, Azure Dragon King, your wine is poisonous. After drinking a few jars of your wine, I have to do something. Night Sorrow sighed and said, it's not like that. We drank wine because of friendship. It's different from the Azure Dragons Juniors joining the Heaven Wasteland Army to work for the 100 races in the Celestial Realm. Long Yixing said awkwardly. Then, Azure Dragon King, did you tell them about the rules of my subordinates? Night Sorrow thought for a while and asked. I did. If they don't follow the rules, you can skin them alive. I won't say anything. You have the final say. Long Yixing patted his chest and said. All right, follow me to the first place to report. Night Sorrow stood up and said. The wine is here. Let's come back and drink. Azure Dragon King took out a jar of wine and placed it on the table. Night Sorrow looked at the Azure Dragon's outstanding juniors. Although they were juniors, each of them had lived for more than 100,000 years. After joining the team, the first thing you have to do is to integrate. You are the elites of the Azure Dragons, but after joining the team, you have to lower your status and get along well with everyone. The more friends you have, the more exciting your life will be. Night Sorrow said to the 3 celestial emperors of the Azure Dragons. Leader, thank you for your advice. We have heard about you, so we feel honored to be your subordinates. Thank you for taking us in. A woman among the 3 celestial emperors said. She was Long Yixing's daughter, the princess of the Azure Dragons, Long Wei. She had told Long Yixing that she came here as an elite junior of the Azure Dragons. You are welcome. Since you are willing to serve the races of the Celestial Realm, I have no reason to keep you out. Let's work hard together. Night Sorrow nodded to Long Wei. When they arrived at the first army, Yi Shang handed Long Wei and the other 2 over to Zhuodong. He asked the team in the first army to take care of Long Wei, and the other 2 during cultivation. After that, Night Sorrow and Long Yixing went back to their own tents. Night Sorrow, I thought you would arrange for them to go to the other 3 territories, but I didn't expect you would arrange for them to go to the first territory directly under your command. Thank you. Long Yixing cupped his hands at Night Sorrow. Azure Dragon King, I trust the elites you have chosen. Besides, I don't think it's appropriate to arrange for them to go to the other 3 territories. They will think that I have arranged for them to go to the first territory. Besides, I can see them at any time. That way, Azure Dragon King can rest assured. Night Sorrow said with a smile. The Azure Dragon King nodded. He was indeed happy. Originally, he had thought that Yi Shang would only arrange for Long Wei and the other 2 to join the other 3 great generals. He would not arrange for them to join the core First Army, or the God-slaying squad. The peaceful days passed. Night Sorrow's true body was cultivating in the depths of the void vortex. He was comprehending at a high speed in the accelerated time. Sometimes his children would take the teleportation array to Samsara Island to deliver tea to Night Sorrow. Sometimes, they would accompany their father and mother to drink. Night Sorrow suggested to the Council of Elders that the entire celestial realm should be hunted down for Mo Tianji. Mo Yutian returned to the Devil Imperial City and met with Mo Zhantian. His face was gloomy. The expedition to the Reincarnation Island had suffered a great loss. They only managed to bring back Mo Lu. Both Xiang Long and Su Yuan, who had undergone the tribulation of 3 sovereigns, were left behind on the island. Seems like we have to change our strategy. If this continues, we will be at a disadvantage. Mo Zhantian said. If we can't fight them head-on, we will be restrained. I am preparing to go through the tribulation of 9 emperors. If I succeed, I will cultivate the soul and soul as one. Then, we will be able to fight them head-on. Mo Yutian's eyes were filled with anger. He had never suffered a loss in so many years. He was one of the 3 great heavens of the demon-winged clan. This failure made him lose face. That's fine. If we can't fight them head-on, we will be in a passive position. I wonder how the heavenly concubine is doing. Mo Zhantian was more worried about Mo Tianji. Her path hasn't been smooth these years. I can't say for sure. I will go through the tribulation. When she returns, it will be the time for us to fight the 100 tribes of the celestial realm. Mo Yutian said. Chapter 2027. For a long time, in the war between Heaven Wasteland and Celestial Realm, Heaven Wasteland was in a passive position. They couldn't break through Heaven Wasteland City on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and enter the Celestial Realm. When the Celestial Realm was at its peak, the 100 Race Alliance's cultivators once reached the core of Heaven Wasteland, but they couldn't break through the Devil Imperial City's defenses. Therefore, they couldn't win. In other words, the Demon Wing race's defenses were stable. What they needed to do was to attack. Since they couldn't break through the Devil Imperial City, the Celestial Realm 100 Race Alliance could only rely on Heaven Wasteland City's defenses. This situation determined the situation. If Heaven Wasteland was strong and had a strong defense, they would naturally win the war. Therefore, the Celestial Realm 100 Race Alliance had always been the one who dared to fight head-on. However, because the Devil Imperial City changed the energy structure of Heaven Wasteland, the Demon Wing race had the advantage. In these years, the Celestial Realm 100 Race Alliance didn't launch any attacks. Following the end of the war on Reincarnation Island, the situation stabilized and returned to its previous path. The difference for Night Sorrow was that he spent the first 700 years in a deep sleep. Now he was cultivating at a high speed. For years had passed in the real world, and 100 years had passed in the time acceleration. Yi Shang's void attribute had reached the emperor rank. This meant that only Yi Shang's Wuji attribute was below 90% while the others were all above 90%, reaching the peak emperor rank. However, after 90% of the world's momentum was deduced and comprehended, the speed slowed down. That was because everything that could be absorbed and comprehended had already been comprehended. The remaining momentum of the world was very little, making it even harder to grasp and comprehend. The 3 divisions on Reincarnation Island were actually 4 divisions. This was because the first division and the God-slaying team were considered one division. These people had broken in very well, and they had also understood the array formation's joint attack. Yishang had told those who could not cultivate well to scram, but the people from the 4 divisions had all stayed. Everyone had worked hard and had not been chased away. Everyone also understood that Yishang's strictness was for their own good. Over the past 4 years, Samsara Island had also been flattened by the Heaven Wasteland Army of the 4th Command. They had conducted a thorough investigation without any blind spots, and had set up teleportation formations in some areas. This meant that if a war broke out, the Heaven Wasteland Army of the 4th Command could rush to any part of Samsara Island at any time and start the war at any time. For Night Sorrow, for years of training had been quite fruitful. However, in the grand scheme of things in the celestial realm, for years was nothing more than a grain of sand in the passage of time. "Brother, come out and drink." Dragon Language went to Night Sorrow's tent and pulled Night Sorrow to the training field. At this moment, a large python was being roasted in the training field. "You bunch of bastards. Look at what you've done to the training field." Night Sorrow said helplessly as he was pushed back into his seat by Dragon Language. "Boss, just wait and eat. Stop scolding people." Long Nan pushed Night Sorrow to his seat. Long Nan was from the Azure Dragons, so he came to the first territory with Long Wei. "I'm impressed. Where's the wine?" Night Sorrow looked at Long Nan and asked. "You'll have to ask Chief Steward Liua about this. She's in charge of the wine and resources," Long Nan said with a smile. He and the other troops on Samsara Island knew that Night Sorrow could not tolerate any mistakes when it came to training and fighting. He could even be said to be very strict. However, Night Sorrow was very casual in his life, and could even be said to have no principles. There were some things that Night Sorrow saw and did not see. "You guys did well. Good, very good." Seeing that everyone was harmonious, Night Sorrow was also very happy. Night Sorrow had instilled the concept of relying on brothers in battle into the Heaven Wasteland Army of the 3rd Command. Therefore, a harmonious scene was what Night Sorrow wanted to see the most. "Boss, there's no more fun on Samsara Island. When are you going to bring us to the Heaven Wasteland Mountain and fight our way to the Demon Imperial City?" Flower Without Words looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Everyone looked at Flower Without Words with a hint of schadenfreude in their eyes, because Flower Without Words was asking for a scolding. Night Sorrow did not scold anyone. He lowered his head and thought for a moment before looking at Flower Without Words. "It's good to have this idea. However, we're still too weak right now. I can't bring you guys to die, but we have to go." "Dollar, then when are we going?" Flower Without Words was so excited that his face turned red. "Wait. We'll talk about it when we're strong enough. With our current strength, we'll be chopped up and roasted like this python." Night Sorrow glared at Flower Without Words. Flower Without Words didn't say anything because he knew that Night Sorrow would never bring his brothers to die. "Little brat, you don't know anything. Come Night Sorrow, let's drink." Long Yixing took a jar of wine and sat beside Night Sorrow. "Everyone, let's drink. It's necessary to train hard, but it's also necessary to relax." Night Sorrow took out 2 large wine bowls and took the roasted meat that Dragon Language handed over. After eating, Night Sorrow left. "Sister Yu, why haven't we seen the commander's main body?" Long Wei looked at Dragon Language and asked. "It's hard to see brother's main body. I can't even see my sisters-in-law because he's always in closed-door cultivation. Therefore, there's a huge gap between us. From what I know, my brother has reached the peak emperor rank in 3 attributes," Dragon Language said. "Amazing, that's really amazing. Peak emperor rank in 3 attributes, 1,000 years old? The commander is 1,000 years old?" Long Wei's face was full of shock. She knew that Night Sorrow was an emperor rank, but she didn't expect Night Sorrow to be this powerful. "Little girl, you don't understand. Don't you know what these 3 attributes mean?" Long Jin, who was sitting beside Dragon Language, said. "Then tell us, let us know a bit about the commander," Long Wei asked. At the same time, many people gathered around. Everyone was very interested in Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was too mysterious. After managing the other 3 commanders, Night Sorrow didn't fight, but his battle experiences were always spread among the 3 commanders, or rather, the 4 commanders. Supreme Attributes. Captain's 2 supreme attributes are both at the peak Emperor rank. The 3rd attribute isn't simple either. It's the time and space attribute of 2 advanced attributes, also at the peak Emperor rank. This should satisfy your curiosity. I can easily crush you with any one of them, so hurry up and work hard on your cultivation, Longjin said. This is equivalent to 2 advanced attributes. Both supreme attributes are at the peak Emperor rank. This is too frightening. Long Wei's face was full of shock. I wonder when Captain's life and death attributes will be cultivated. Tianyu muttered. He entered the Emperor rank 2 years ago, and was an expert under Night Sorrow. The commander also cultivates the life and death attributes? More people interrupted. He didn't differentiate between life and death attributes a long time ago. After life and death attributes are fused, it's a limitless attribute. I don't know much about it, Tianyu said. Chapter 2028. After returning to the tent, Night Sorrow looked at the array diagram he had drawn and nodded in satisfaction. While his main body had been cultivating for the past 4 years, his clone had been studying array formations when he had nothing to do. His array Dao cultivation was now at the Emperor level. There was no news about Mo Tianji in the past few years, which was within Night Sorrow's expectations. Mo Tianji had been dormant for more than 700 years after she was injured last time. This time, she would be dormant for a long time. Longjin, Tianyu, and Night Sorrow's wives went to Night Sorrow's tent. Why didn't you continue to drink with them? Night Sorrow said after rolling up the array diagram. Brother 13, I have a big mouth. Everyone asked about you just now, so I told them a little, Tianyu said. That's nothing. There's nothing that can't be told. We are upright people. There's nothing that can't be said. Night Sorrow smiled. Tianyu, you misunderstood me. I was thinking that Night Sorrow could have more trump cards, Yonglei said. She knew that Tianyu was a little embarrassed because of her interruption. Ninth senior sister, you are right. We should have some trump cards. Tianyu nodded. Go ahead. Night Sorrow patted Tianyu's shoulder. He didn't care about these things at all. The people from the Human Dao Alliance often came to Reincarnation Island. They had nothing to do anyway, so when they had time, they would come and chat with Yishan. They were all friends who had fought together, so their friendship ran deep. Pu Luo told Night Sorrow a piece of news. 1 year later, the Celestial Realm would hold a meeting of heroes. It would give the elites of the Celestial Realm a platform, and a chance to stand out. The heroes competition was a competition between heroes. According to the cultivation level, it was divided into 4 levels, which meant that there were 4 lists. First, there was the rank 8 King Realm cultivators. It was called the Single King list. The participants of this list could only be at the rank 8 cultivation level, which corresponded to the rank 8 King, King and Lord of Heaven. The next 3 rankings were the Heaven, Earth and Mortal rankings. The Heaven, Earth, and Mortal rankings corresponded to the 3 stages of the Emperor Realm. Emperor Realm, Monarch Realm, and Emperor Realm. The human ranking was for the Imperial Realm. It was a competition between 1-star and 3-star Imperial Realm cultivators. The top 30 people on the human ranking would be rewarded by the elders of the 100 clans. The top 10 people could customize a weapon or armor. The bottom 20 people would also be rewarded with certain resources. The Earth ranking was a ranking that Imperial Lord level cultivators competed for. It was also a ranking for the top 30. The rewards were more generous than the man ranking because the custom-made weapons and armor were at the Imperial Lord level. The resources were also more generous than the man ranking's rewards. The Heaven ranking was for the Emperor Realm cultivators to compete for. It was also for the 7-star Imperial Lord level cultivators to compete for. After receiving this news, Night Sorrow smiled. Not bad. It gives the cultivators a reason to work hard, and give them a chance to stand out. Elder Lin and the Great Demon King are qualified, but they are not qualified to become Emperor Tribulation cultivators. Rui Si Yuzhu and Fun Tian are all qualified. The only one from our humanitarian league who can participate is you. Everyone agrees that since the heaven ranking is out, our humanitarian league has to take it. Pu Luo said with a smile. Okay, I understand. Knight Sorrow nodded. Pu Luo and the others wanted him to participate. Okay then. When the time comes, we will cheer for you, Pu Luo said. Now the humanitarian league was managed by Jun Xuanji and Pu Luo. After chatting with Pu Luo for a while and sending him off, Knight Sorrow went to the martial arts arena and beat the war drum twice. Following the beating of the war drum, the Heaven Wasteland army of Samsara Island gathered. Only a small portion of the Demon Mountain stronghold was not in position. Don't be nervous. There are no urgent orders, but there are missions. 1 year later, the 100 clans of the Celestial Realm will hold a meeting of heroes. What is the meeting of heroes? It is a gathering of the elites. Knight Sorrow explained the situation and rules of the meeting of heroes to his subordinates. Commander, can we participate too? Long Nen asked. Yes. Now it's time for me to make a strategic request. Only the God-slaying squad will participate in the competition for the King ranking and the Emperor ranking. When you go, you must finish drinking the first place of the King ranking and take back the first place of the Emperor ranking. If you can't, I will ground you on Samsara Island. Chiyu called Qingyan, Xiaolei, and Lingxi to the God-slaying squad. Knight Sorrow looked at the God-slaying squad and said to Sikong Chiyu. Yes. The members of the God-slaying squad knocked on their breastplates. We are from the chaotic domain, but this time, the God-slaying squad of the Heaven Wasteland army will be participating in the battle, Knight Sorrow said again. After briefing the God-slaying squad, Knight Sorrow looked at the other members of the Heaven Wasteland army and said, the first place of the Earth ranking will also belong to the Samsara Island. If you can't get half of the 30 places, you will be grounded for 100 years. The Heaven Wasteland army is made up of elites, so we will use the Emperor ranking to prove it. Yes. No one felt that Knight Sorrow's request was unreasonable. Instead, they were very excited to hear Knight Sorrow's words. Everyone has been working hard to cultivate, but what can prove that we have worked hard? What can prove that our hard work is useful? This meeting of heroes is a chance to prove it. The Heaven ranking. The 3 of you, as well as the other Emperor Realm members, work hard. I don't ask for much, as long as you can get 3 places on the Heaven ranking, Knight Sorrow said and turned to leave. Everyone, work hard. Being grounded for 100 years isn't a big punishment, but it's embarrassing. Can we afford to be embarrassed? Shi Cheng, one of the 3 commanders of the Heaven Wasteland army, said. Luckily, the great commander didn't ask us to get the first place of the Heaven ranking. That would be terrible, Nan Yong, another commander, said. Are you stupid or what? Will the great commander participate? If he participates, will he ask us to get the first place of the Heaven ranking? Shicheng looked at Nan Yong and shook his head helplessly. At this moment, Shicheng came to a realization. He then looked at the first leader and the God-slaying team. We can't do anything about the King ranking and human ranking. It's up to you guys. If you fail, you will have to bear the wrath of the great leader. The consequences will be severe. The mission is heavy and the pressure is great. I sympathize with you guys, Shicheng said. In the following days of cultivation, Knight Sorrow strengthened some people. For example, speed, strength, soul attack, defense, etc. Shicheng, Nan Yong, and Song Jingang benefited a lot. Song Jingang was the other commander of the Heaven Wasteland army. After strengthening the Emperor Realm members of the Reincarnation Island, Knight Sorrow left, leaving behind Nan Yong, Shicheng, Song Jingang, Long Jin, Tianyu, and the others. Lin Yan was also rubbing her shoulders. Strength. This strength is too scary. Let's work together. Is the great commander playing with us? Nan Yong said as he rubbed his lame leg. Chapter 2029. Human Emperor. The great commander is a human emperor. Once he fully matures, he will be the pillar of the 100-race alliance. How can we compare to him? Nan Yong muttered. This isn't a reason. He is more hardworking than us. I have to admit this. Lin Yan said. Lin Yan, you have to take a spot this time. There is still a gap between us and you. Song Jingang looked at Lin Yun and said, when the Blood Qilin Mountain was attacked by Long Zhe, Lin Yun was a peak 8-star emperor. However, she had been there for a long time and had accumulated a lot. Later on, she entered the Blood Qilin Mountain race to cultivate and entered the peak emperor rank. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Night Sorrow had strict requirements for the members of the god-slaying team, especially Yi Lingxi. Night Sorrow would strengthen her combat cultivation every day. Concubine Chu Yu, my father is too strict. During the break, Yi Lingxi said, a treasured sword's edge is sharpened. If you want fame and fortune, this is your chance. You have to grasp it. Soul Destruction / Afterimage Body, Time Vibration Wave, Spatial Revolving Dragon Kill, and Time Realm. Night Sorrow drank a mouthful of tea and looked at Yi Lingxi. He felt that Yi Lingxi had more hope in the King Realm contest. Father, don't worry. Lingxi won't disappoint you. Yi Lingxi bowed. Don't feel pressured. Just do your best. Night Sorrow nodded at his son. While they were talking, Datira and Yi Shaluo arrived. Father, I want to participate too. Yi Shaluo said. It's fine if you want to participate. However, as a 2-star emperor, you will be at a disadvantage. You will be at a disadvantage in the battle for the human ranking list. Your brother is a heaven monarch and is at the peak of the 8th rank. Hence, I called your brother here, said Yi Shang. Being 1 level lower is a disadvantage, but it doesn't mean there is no chance. I plan to give it a try. Yi Shaluo said. Father, I don't know about 4th brother's situation after he reached the Imperial Realm. Before the Imperial Realm, he was able to fight against people of a higher realm. Yi Qingyan said. She and Yi Shaolei had already withdrawn from the meeting of heroes. They were more outstanding, but Night Sorrow felt that it was not enough. Night Sorrow nodded in agreement. Yi Xiaoluo's potential was the highest among his children. He also believed in Yi Xiaoluo. He placed the 8-dragon cauldron in the encampment and told the artifact spirit that it was open for everyone to enter, to help everyone speed up the cultivation of their combat abilities. Long Jin, Tianyu, and Yi Mei bid farewell to Night Sorrow and left. They were going back to the clan to cultivate and increase their strength. The Golden Dragon King's clone left with Long Jin and the dragon language because he was the only senior in the Golden Dragon clan. Night Sorrow guided his 2 sons, the Emperor of the Heaven Wasteland Army, and the members of the God-slaying team to cultivate their combat abilities every day. After half a year, Night Sorrow's destruction attribute reached 91%. According to the normal course, Night Sorrow could undergo the heavenly tribulation. However, if he did, he would not be able to participate in the meeting of the 100 races in the celestial realm. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow gave up on the idea of undergoing the heavenly tribulation. It was mainly because of his conversation with Qin Qianjia that Night Sorrow decided on this idea. Qin Qianjia told Night Sorrow that if the 100 Races Alliance wanted to be stable, they had to have a core. Currently, apart from the human race, no other race could do this. It was very important to stabilize the human race's position. Qin Qianjia did not know about Night Sorrow's situation. She only told him her thoughts based on the current situation, because she knew that in this meeting of heroes, the Heaven Wasteland army of the 4 armies of the Samsara Island would perform well. Since there was nothing else, Night Sorrow refined weapons and armor for Yi Nianxiao, Yi Lingxi, and Yi Shaluo. Brother, you're cheating, Yi Nianxiao said after trying out the weapons. This is soft power. Don't tell me that we don't use weapons or protective treasures to fight. Night Sorrow smiled. He had refined weapons, armor, and soul defensive treasures for his family. In the past, Night Sorrow could not refine soul defensive treasures mainly because he did not have an inheritance. Now he could refine them because his cultivation in the Tao of Formations had improved. He used his own ideas to imitate the Green Lotus Jade Bracelet. The principle and structure were all based on the Green Lotus Jade Bracelet. My thinking was too extreme. Yi Nianxiao nodded after hearing Night Sorrow's words. Cultivate diligently. We don't need those rewards, but we need fame, because it's a way to increase our luck, Night Sorrow said. Father, what about you? Yi Qingyan pulled Night Sorrow's arm and asked. If it wasn't for this meeting of heroes, I would have gone to attempt the heavenly law emperor tribulation right now. For this matter, I'll have to wait for another half a year. Knight Sorrow smiled. Heavenly law emperor tribulation. Brother, are you crazy? Yi Nianxiao looked at Knight Sorrow in astonishment. In the past, the Yi clan's level was low, so they did not come into contact with many things. However, the Yi clan was different now. Other than the guidance given by Knight Sorrow, the 3 commanders of the Heaven Wasteland Army also gave guidance to the members of the God-slaying squad. It's alright. You should work harder too. Look at Tianyu, you're lagging behind by a lot, Knight Sorrow said as he patted his sister's shoulder. Although he could not attempt the Heavenly Law Emperor tribulation, it did not affect his cultivation too much. Knight Sorrow's original body continued to cultivate his comprehension of the heavenly law. Time passed steadily. Knight Sorrow, who did not feel tired in the past, now felt tired. He was really not good at cultivating the Wuji attribute, so his progress was very slow. Knight Sorrow felt that if he wanted to have achievements in the Wuji attribute, he really needed time to accumulate and settle down, bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, a year's time was coming to an end. Lu Qi came to inform Knight Sorrow that the meeting of heroes was about to begin. He first expressed his gratitude to Lu Qi, thanking him for guarding Star Moon City. Knight Sorrow, we've known each other for a long time. Aren't you embarrassed by thanking me like this? There were a few things that happened, and I didn't manage to keep watch. Lu Qi sighed. Don't say that, 7th clan elder. It's true that there were some mistakes, but under Mo Tianji's scheming, it's enough to keep Star Moon City safe and my family safe. Knight Sorrow said. We don't have to be polite. Make the arrangements and head to Heaven Desolate City. Don't let the first place of the Heaven leaderboard fall into the hands of others. Lu Qi said to Knight Sorrow, his voice a little soft at the end. After Lu Qi left, Knight Sorrow gathered the Heaven Desolate army. Nan Yong, Xicheng Song Jinggang, you guys go and discuss this. Leave 1/3 of the army to guard Reincarnation Island, and the rest to return to Heaven Desolate City. Also go and negotiate with the Heaven Desolate army around the first army's encampment, and change the encampment. After instructing Knight Sorrow, he went to the Golden Dragon King's tent. This king is already clear about the situation. This king's clone is here, so there won't be any problems. You have to work hard. The dragons won't be able to do much in this meeting of heroes, so it's up to you. The Golden Dragon King said. Chapter 2030. Don't underestimate the other races of the celestial realm. It isn't easy for emperors to fight above their ranks. You guys should set off. This king will bring his dragon gold body and dragon language, and set off from Dragon Island. The Golden Dragon King said. Alright, I'll bring Little Purple to Heaven Desolate City. I'll know what's going on in Reincarnation Island, and we'll rush back. Knight Sorrow nodded at the Golden Dragon King, and left the tent. He kept the 8-dragon cauldron and returned from the Void Whirlpool to merge with his clone. This year's meeting of heroes had a rule that only the original body could fight. Clones weren't allowed. If clones fought and killed randomly, it was easy for problems to occur. Because of the rule, Knight Sorrow's original body ended his cultivation. Knight Sorrow's true body was dressed differently from his avatar. In front of others, his avatar looked more refined. His robes and hair were neat and tidy. However, the original body was different. The original body's aura was very strong. His loose robes were rippling from the aura. In order to feel the feeling of stepping on the ground, Knight Sorrow didn't wear battle boots and his hair was untidy. Set off. Knight Sorrow stepped onto the teleportation array. What's the situation? Why is the Great Commander's aura so strong? Seeing Knight Sorrow's figure disappear into the teleportation array, Nan Yong let out a sigh of relief. They are both peak emperors, but the difference is too big. Even Emperor Tribulation cultivators aren't this strong. Who on the heaven list can compete with him? Xicheng patted Nan Yong's shoulder. Song Jinggang nodded. They knew that in this meeting of heroes, no one could compete with Knight Sorrow. Anyone who tried to fight him would be asking for a beating. Hey, do you guys think that Dong Jinyue will participate in the meeting of heroes? He used to flaunt his strength and said that he wanted to challenge Sect Elder Lin and the Great Demon King. His tone is so arrogant. Nanyong waved his hand to let the Heaven Desolate Army start the teleportation and asked Shicheng and Song Jingang at the same time. That idiot. I don't know. We have learned a lot from the Grand Commander. If he dares to participate, let's teach him a lesson, Shicheng said. The encampment of the First Army is relatively close to the encampment of Dong Jinyue's subordinates. The three of us went there to ask for a change. If he refused, we would kill him and his subordinates. Did he think he could scare people just because he had the backing of the Great Guardian's cousin? We also have backers. The Grand Commander isn't afraid of trouble. He even dared to kill Yukurin, so why would he be afraid of the Grand Protector? Nanyong said. Song Jingang and Shicheng nodded. In the past, they had been angered by Dong Jinyue, but because they couldn't afford to offend him, they endured it. Now that the three of them were under Night Sorrow's command, they trusted him. Night Sorrow didn't care about any background. They knew his style very well. After returning to the Infinite Wasteland City, Night Sorrow took his wife and children to his mansion. After making arrangements for his family, Night Sorrow went to the Infinite Wasteland Tower and cupped his hands. At this moment, energy suddenly appeared and wrapped around Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment, but he didn't resist. He only came to show his respect to the origin of the celestial realm. Night Sorrow went to the Infinite Wasteland space, and the origin of the celestial realm appeared. Night Sorrow greets the Universe Sovereign. Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards the origin of the celestial realm. You are welcome. You are the Realm Lord of the Nine Domains world, and you will be the Realm Lord of the Supreme World in the future. You don't have to be polite with me. Sit. A chair appeared behind Night Sorrow. It's okay. Recently, some problems have appeared one after another. I need time to accumulate them. There is still an era left in this reincarnation. I hope there is enough time, Night Sorrow said. It will be enough. You are the person with the most prosperous fate in the celestial realm over thousands of reincarnations. You don't just have the fate of the celestial realm. You also have the fate of the celestial realm and the Nine Domains world. This is unparalleled. In addition, you have cultivated your virtue and become the virtuous emperor. Therefore, even if the road ahead is bumpy, it will be smooth. The origin of the celestial realm sat down and said, I will work hard. I must ensure the stability of the Nine Domains world. I promise the Universe Sovereign that I will guard the celestial realm for a period of time. I will do my best to do so, Night Sorrow said. You can do it. If you have any problems, you can come to me. Helping you is also helping myself. Therefore, I will not be stingy. The origin of the celestial realm said. At this moment, in the Grand Elder's small space world, Tran Hung and the Grand Elder were drinking tea. Night Sorrow entered the Wasteland Tower. The Universe Sovereign invited him in. The Universe Sovereign thinks highly of him. Tran Hung said. That's a good thing, said the Grand Elder. We've lived for a long time, and even in the Great War of the last reincarnation, the world's sovereign never showed his face. However, in recent days he has shown up a few times, all for Night Sorrow. Actually, I am very puzzled. In the past reincarnations, why is there no genius who can compare with Night Sorrow? The speed of his rise in 1,000 years is simply unimaginable. Even if he is the Merit Emperor now, it is only a matter of time before he becomes the Merit Emperor. Tran Hung shook his head and said, Let's not talk about this anymore. This year's meeting of heroes is about to begin. City Lord, you should preside over it. The Grand Elder said. Okay. Originally, the Celestial Demon list was to encourage human cultivators. Now that other races are also interested, let's do it. Do you think they can do it? Do you think they can snatch the first place? Tran Hung snorted. The Grand Elder smiled. He knew that in Tran Hung's heart, the stability of the celestial realm was important. The development of the human race was also equally important. Night Sorrow and the origin of the celestial realm conversed for a while before arriving at the Grand Elder's small space world. Sit. Our reincarnation island's great commander has returned. It's not easy, the Grand Elder said with a smile. Grand Elder, You're exaggerating, Knight Sorrow said as he sat down. The Heaven Wasteland army of the Reincarnation Island has returned. I've seen it. It's different. Indeed, it's different. 3 generals. If only there were 30 generals. The Grand Elder sighed. Don't. Grand Elder, please don't make any other arrangements. I'm already too busy with my own matters. Knight Sorrow was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly said, Haha, let's just let nature take its course. Now that you've returned, I won't say or ask about other matters. However, you've taken the first place of the heavenly list. And you've reached the Emperor's tribulation level. Tran Hung observed Knight Sorrow as he spoke and saw Knight Sorrow's cultivation level. Yes. Half a year ago, I planned to undergo the Heavenly Law Emperor's tribulation. However, I didn't go because the meeting of heroes was imminent. I planned to undergo the tribulation after the meeting of heroes. After that, it doesn't matter if I'm still on the heavenly list. I can't stop improving just because of this ranking, Knight Sorrow said. The arrangement is reasonable and your thoughts are correct. Take the heavenly list first. As for the ranking, it's only temporary. During this period, no matter how much you improve, as long as you're not defeated by a challenger, your ranking will not change. Tran Hung explained to Knight Sorrow. UF version 70,000 first release haha. Knight Sorrow, you can occupy it first. Relax and occupy it for a period of time. After the meeting of heroes, seize the opportunity to undergo the tribulation and directly rush forward. Raise your cultivation level. The Grand Elder nodded at Knight Sorrow. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.